Tipp today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tipp Today, 1800 938 007. That's our free phone number, won't cost you to make a call, and Leanne is producing and just ahead of the show. Can I apologise for the old voice today? I sound a little bit ropey. Hopefully things will improve as the morning goes on. Coming up on the show today, Stephen Gleeson is with me in a few moments' time with a look back at the weekend's sport. The Shannon Pipeline continues to be a contentious issue. We'll be hearing from Cllr Seamie Morris on that. Diesel prices likely to reach and surpass €2 per litre. We'll be hearing from the Road Haulage Association. Global news with Thomas Conway. God knows there's a lot of global news. And a warning that existing practices around the payment of expenses to inter-county management teams would have to change amid recent investigations by the Revenue Commission. The Tipperary singer Dee Morrissey is with us ahead of her Glor Tire Final tomorrow night, and our relationship expert Susan O'Donoghue is with me in studio. So all of that and more on the way. And you can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tippfm.com. Now, this week on the programme, we're giving away a €200 voucher for Mr. Menswear. And from Debs, confirmations, communions, weddings and race day style, you will find the perfect suit, footwear and accessories under one roof at Mr. Menswear in Cashel or Care. Or indeed, you can shop online now with mrmister.ie. So to be in it with a chance to win, all you have to do is listen out for your cue to call or text or WhatsApp, and we'll be giving you that cue in just a little while. We will pick a finalist every day, and we will give away the €200 voucher on this coming Friday. Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers. The Irish Daily Mail, and this story is right across the newspapers today. In fact, ministers are concerned that Donald Trump could cancel Taoiseach Micheál Martin's White House visit over controversial comments by President Catherine Connolly. The President said the ongoing missile attacks in the Middle East are deliberate assaults on international law. One cabinet minister told the Mail last night this statement is hugely problematic in so many ways, but mostly in its timing. It will still be live and sensitive when the Taoiseach goes to the Oval Office. And the minister added that we fear now that Donald Trump could possibly cancel the visit to the Irish Independent, and it's dominated by a picture of the brand new supreme leader in Iran, and we'll be speaking about that with Thomas a little later on. The lead story on the Indo today: the government is to face demands for cuts to motorway tolls to ease the impact of surging fuel prices, even as hauliers threaten major blockades of roads and airports in protest. And again, we will talk about that later on as well. The Irish Times: President's condemnation of Iran war violations put pressure on the Taoiseach. That story is the lead story on the Times today as well. They're also telling us on the Times that a failure of political will to limit numbers in large women's prisons shows a willingness to warehouse people in degrading and inhumane conditions. That's according to an unpublished report. And also on the Times today, the Minister for Communications, Patrick O'Donovan, he has raised concerns in a letter to Cabinet colleague Jack Chambers over the speed at which a pilot age verification tool, which could be used for accessing social media platforms, is being developed. And finally, a look at the Irish Examiner and the lead story on the Examiner today. The government has ruled out introducing cost of living supports and energy credits amid growing uncertainty about the economic impacts of the ongoing war in the Middle East. And again, that story about President Connolly being critical of the deliberate, as she sees it, the deliberate assaults on international law. So that's a look at what's making headlines today. If you would like to make comment on any of that, once again, we'd be glad to hear from you. 083 311 3311. I saw in Tipperary town last night, in fact, where diesel had gone past €2. a litre. So what's your experience of that so far in terms of what you're seeing at the pumps out there? Now, I'd like to be joined by Stephen Gleeson with a look back at the weekend of sport. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Morning, Fran.
And good to talk to you today. Now, of course, the Tipperary Waterford game was called off due to a bereavement, Stephen.
That's right. Benny Kiley, may he rest in peace, of Abbeyside, father of Michael Kiley, Waterford senior hurler, passed away over the weekend. And just as that news broke, the game was postponed on Sunday, and it'll be now played next weekend. And Benny Kiley was very involved in Gaelic games down in Waterford, and Michael an integral part of the Waterford team. He's up in the forwards, in around full forward there for them, and a very good hurler as well. He went to college down in UL and would have won Fitzgibbon Cups with them, and he's sure to be a big player for Waterford in the coming season. So the game was called off as a matter of respect, and it will be now played next weekend. Not sure yet if it'll be Saturday or Sunday, but it's set to be confirmed later on this morning. It looks like the timeline for it. So it'll be, a game, I suppose, that both sides would have liked to have played, because it would mean that they'd have next weekend off. But at the same time, the fixture schedule allows it to be played without any real difficulty down the line, because there's a lot of fixtures on the horizon.
Our Munster rivals were in action with wins for Limerick and Clare respectively, Stephen, but Limerick in particular looking very strong at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, Fran. They were really clinical again at the weekend, played against a very strong Cork team. Now, Limerick just looked as though they're kind of back to that team of old that they had. They have Kyle Hayes in there at 6, and he's performing very well. Keane Lynch back at 11, and he's playing very well there as well. And then you've got, a lot of players coming back into form at the right time, the likes of Aaron Gillan there in the forwards for them. They were clinical really against Cork, got 3 goals. Cork put up a good battle, were without Dara Fitzgibbon, which would be one of their main players there, and just gave maybe a couple of lads in the forwards a chance there, and they just didn't spark for them. But without a doubt, that's a rivalry that has been brewing over the last few years and will continue to be so. And see those two meet in the league final as well, Cork and Limerick. Cork going well in their matches up till then, and they had a decent win over Tipperary down at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and they've been just building a bit of momentum. A hard fixture away to Galway as well, and they got a result in that. But it is the two of them that are looking strong, and Clare as well did very well, and Clare had a win over Wexford at the weekend, and they're in a lower division in the hurling league, but it's ideal for them, I think, because they'll come into it and they'll have worked on game plans, and they'll have worked on how they want to perform in the Munster Championship. Last year they were probably just reeling a little from winning the All-Ireland the previous year, and never really sparked in the Munster Championship or the league. They had a poor league campaign last spring, so this year it's very different from Clare. They're having a really good league campaign. Big win against Wexford yesterday down in Ennis, and the two of them are looking strong now going into what's going to be a really busy month next month with the Munster Senior Hurling Championship kicking off, and before then you've got all those Munster rivals in the hunt for league honours as well, as are Tipperary as well. But Tipp and Waterford probably further down the pecking order currently, so you'd in the league. So you'd have Limerick are playing Galway next, and that looks like a de facto league semi-final. So all still to be played for, but Limerick in particular looking strong, friend.
To rugby then, Stephen, and Ireland got back to winning ways against Wales in that very exciting Six Nations game at the weekend. It
was great. Friday night lights above in Dublin, really good atmosphere for the game, full house at Lansdowne Road, and the crowds were huge from all across Ireland, and a lot of Tipperary people up at the match, and you also had a lot travelled over from Wales for the game, so it made for a really good atmosphere. And I think it really suits rugby, these matches played on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Now if you're commuting in Dublin and you're finishing work at 5 o'clock or thereabouts, you're going to be in a lot of traffic, so not ideal for that. But an evening game under lights really just helped the atmosphere, I think, because there was a lot of talk after the Italy game that it was on very early in the day and the game never really got going, but this one did. And, Ireland not really in full flow, didn't really play the way that they did previously against England, but at the same time got the win, and that's the main thing. And Wales looked strong at times there. The prop got in for a try just before half time, and it looked as though Wales might push on in the game, but Ireland held firm, saw it out in the end, and it's all to play for then again.
I saw there was some great dressing room footage after Italy beat England. Some of the singing, some of the shenanigans was brilliant to see. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the atmosphere is brilliant at that level. And the Six Nations this year in particular, Fran, has really just caught the imagination of everyone because, you're looking at a championship now where it's wide open, where France can win it, Scotland can win it, Ireland can win it, and it all comes down to next weekend on Saturday the 14th, and that's D-Day, I suppose, when the Scots come to Dublin and take on Ireland. That game 2:10 on Saturday, and if Ireland win that, they'll be in pole position, and then all eyes will switch to what happens later on that night when England play France. So France still just hold a couple of the aces there. They have a superior scoring difference, 79 compared to Ireland's 16 points. So if it comes down to that, France will be likely the champions. But Ireland can just do what they can, beat Scotland, get a bonus point and go in and see how it goes after that. But of course Scotland have loads to play for as well. If Scotland can overturn Ireland and France were to slip up against England, and judging by the way it's gone this year, anything could happen in it, because you have Italy in particular as being the main team, I think, as a rising power. They had a really good win over England on Saturday. England were in the driving seat for a lot of the game, but coming on in the last 15 minutes or so, Italy just got a bit of momentum, and a huge win for them in that. And great to see that it's wide open, Fran, and the excitement levels are really high at the Six Nations this year, and that can be only good for interest around the country as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. So locally then, Stephen, Tipp rugby and soccer teams in club action over the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely, Fran. Things were, all go on that front as well. You had 5 Tipp soccer teams in the FAI Junior Cup, and Peak Villa had a good win there over Bansha, with St Michael's beating 2 Mile Boris. Clonmel beat Mullinahone 3-1, and Clonmel won on penalties in that game. It finished up 7-6 on penalties there in that one. And local rugby, a really big win there for Cashel over Banbridge, 73 points to 14, and Cashel second team then 18-11 winners over Fermoy. So really good to see Cashel going well in that against Banbridge. In the AIL Division 1A, Nina were beaten by Terranure in that game, 31 points for Nina, 40 for Terranure, so they just overcame them there. But it is hectic at the moment, and you had the local league in football in GAA back as well, and good to see all those teams getting back to action. So you had football last week and hurling the coming week then for the club sides as well. So you have rugby, soccer, the whole lot in full flow, and hurling and football starting back as well. And of course Sarah's Cycle was on in Thurles as well over the weekend, another huge event there, and well done to all those who were part of that in Thurles, a charity event where it was like 100 kilometres and various differences. But it's great to see all these activities going on. So it's a very, very busy time, locally, and I suppose when you talk about the matches that are going on there with the Six Nations, all that as well. Well,
much to look forward to there, that's for sure. Stephen, pleasure as always. Thanks for your time this morning. Thank you. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Many thanks, Fran.
Bye-bye. That's our own Stephen Gleeson there. Liam was on to say, Fran, price gouging, and the government say they will rail in those responsible. Ha, 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 says Liam. What crap. The government don't care. They get in more tax receipts. Oh yes, they'll huff and puff, but that is all staged. If the government are really serious, they will cut the tax intake. Is that going to happen? Not on your nanny. It'll be a week of staged huff and puff, says our Liam on 083 311 3311. Somebody else like myself seeing diesel at €2.8 No, sorry, €2.089 in. And they give us the place where that is over the weekends. As I say, I saw it late in Tipperary town last night. So again, what's your experience of that? 083 311 3311.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Welcome back to Tip Today. Now we have that fantastic prize in association with Mr. Menswear. If you want to get involved, all you have to do is text or WhatsApp right now. Put Mr. on your entry. Give us your name and your details, and we will have the draw towards the end of the programme for a finalist, and the final on Friday. Then we will give away the €200 voucher. But it is a nice prize, and Mr. Menswear, of course, situated in Cashel and Cahir, and the people to go to for the Debs, for confirmation, communions, wedding day, race day style, all of that kind of thing. And there's expert fitting there and top quality brands, etc. 083 311 3311. Now, the Shannon Pipeline continues to be a contentious issue right across the county, right across the country indeed. A total of 72 submissions have been published on the An Comisiún Pleanála website to date. Now, several groups have lodged objections to the project, including a group led by Tipperary councillor Seamie Morris, known as the Shannon River Environmental Protection Alliance. And Councillor Morris joins me now. Good morning to you, Seamie.
Good morning, Frank.
Good to talk to you today. Now, it probably doesn't need this, but just to lay it out for listeners that mightn't be too sure about this, the proposal is constructing a 170-kilometre steel pipeline that will dump drinking water from the River Shannon at the Partine Basin, just below Lough Derg, of course, to the Midlands, to the Eastern and the Greater Dublin area. And the water utility, Iscairn, proposes to abstract a maximum of 2% of the average river flow. The estimated cost, anything between 4.6 billion and potentially up to 10 billion. I was reading through the submission. It's very comprehensive, Seamie, your own one. I was particularly taken by your interrogation of the alternatives to the extraction proposal. You argue that the analysis of alternative solutions like groundwater desalination and the use of the Palafuca reservoir is defective. Could you just expand on that for us, and what sort of research went into that?
Okay, look, I want to preface all of this, Fran, by saying that at the moment, the European Union, or the ECJ, the European Court of Justice, are fining Ireland €19,000 per day because of our poor river water quality. And also, last year, the CRU fined Irish Water €25 million for failing to meet leakage targets. Okay, so if we as a country are to stop the massive fines from Europe, we should be protecting our rivers instead of talking about pumping rivers 172 kilometres into a system that's leaking 300 million litres of treated water a day into the ground. So I want to preface it by doing that. I mean, this is the background that's going on. So okay, so at the moment. We have looked at other options. I mean, as the Irish Water should have looked at, is, Pulafoca has up to 1 billion litres of water in their system. The River Slaney is 20 kilometres north of Dublin, and it's flooding half of north Wexford at the moment. And obviously you have Dublin sitting on a massive amount of groundwater. And we've spoken to hydrologists that informed Iscairn in 2019 of the amount of water that Dublin is sitting on. And then you have, of course, the sea. I mean, I'm reading reports yesterday from the war in the Middle East, where desalination plants have been bombed in Tehran and Saudi Arabia, places like that. So desalination is something that is being used by countries all over the world. But, of course, we can't use it in this country. So that's the background to that. Last year, I think I told you, I sat down with 3 people in the Kilmurray Lodge in Limerick, and I said to myself, we're in trouble here. I haven't enough of a group here to put together a strong submission against this pipeline. Well, that group grew into a movement, and we now have the bones of 1,500 anglers behind us. We have engineers, we have environmentalists, we have ecologists, hydrologists, and of course we have, very lucky to have Phil Bugler, who has really come on board and has garnered, most of Ballinan, half of Killaloe. She is doing massive work also in the council in getting them to change their viewpoints in this. So that's where we're at the moment, and we managed to put together a 148-page submission, which really attacks the Ishgare and 15,000-page submission, which really their EIAR, which is Environmental Impact Assessment Statement, has now been proven to be extremely weak. It is based on a small portion of the Partine Basin where they took their samples from. Even Lawpro, which is something that Tipperary County Council have a say in, have put in a submission saying that the impact statement, the environmental impact statement is weak. Tipperary County Council have changed their wording of their own manager's report to be presented to us today to show that the environment impact statement is weak. And what is more important than anything is the fact that if their impact statement is weak, their planning permission will fail. So we have a project, Fran, that started at 700 million euros. Okay, they now can't even calculate how much it's going to cost. They reckon they've given a price figure now of it between 6 and 10 billion. Can you imagine what this is going to end up as if they can't even say it's going to cost, if they can't even calculate that it's going to cost maybe 6 billion and maybe 10 billion? It won't stop at 10 billion. Well, and the most important thing is that it's not needed.
But all of your argument and all of your data, in fact, is being ignored by the government, because Jack Chambers, public expenditure minister, he said that reports that the local authorities are objecting to the project are extremely disappointing. He said the project is critical. And he said it's extremely disappointing to see local authorities take a very parochial interest in such a project.
Of course we have taken a parochial interest in it, because we stand up for our own area, Brian. I mean, look, you even mentioned it yourself there, that, Ishgare are saying that they're taking 2% of the water. And, people would be saying to me, sure, what are you giving out about? It's only 2%. We have done calculations that shows that at times it'll be taken up to 50% of the water in the lower Shannon region, the lower Shannon. I mean, that would have devastating effects on everything, from tourism to the ability. 145,000 people in Limerick, by the way, get their water from Partine. So, there's massive consequences to this. Massive consequences.
But again, the minister is coming out very strong on this. He's saying if the project is stopped, Seamie, he said it will slow economic growth into the 2030s, seriously harm housing supply, and he says councils should see the bigger picture on this.
Well, Fran, if it slows economic growth in Dublin, it'll stop economic growth in the Midwest. And so that's what we have here. We have a Dublin-based TD telling us, look, I'll be honest, I'll go on the radio any day and argue with Jack Chambers. I will put the figures up in front. No problem at all. I'm openly inviting him now to Partine. There's a boat protest in Partine on the 21st of March at 2:00. If Jack Chambers or any government official, in fact, Fianna Fáil have been incredibly weak in this. To be fair, the Labour Party, Matty McGrath, Michael Lowry, through Pamela Quirk, they've all put in submissions into this, but Fianna Fáil have been incredibly weak, despite the pipe going through the Fianna Fáil mayor's brother's land in North Tipp. Now, John Carr, to be fair to him, has stood up, but Ryan O'Mara and his brother JP O'Mara have gone to ground in this. So have the TDs in Limerick. But Fran, there's a massive groundswell going against, which is why politicians are beginning to turn their head on this. Willie O'Dea made contact with the River Shannon Protection Alliance only in the last week or so. So when Willie O'Dea has taken interest, that things are beginning to turn. But the amazing thing about it is, Fran, we've been trying to instruct county councillors in the Midwest, in Cllr, in Limerick, and in Tipperary, trying to put our point to them. Thankfully, we've got through to Cllr, we've got through to Tipperary, and we're trying to get through to Limerick now. There was a meeting call last week, and they have a special meeting on the 23rd, I think. So we're now beginning to to turn the council's interest in this, because one councillor in Limerick told me, I thought this was gone away. That's how ignorant people are of it.
It's interesting. I heard a couple of discussions on RTE about this, and a particularly liberal sort of panel, as usual, on one of the talk shows there, kind of like skitting at the idea, sure, the cultures down the country are trying to scupper this in some way when it's so important to our economic development and to sustain our economy. It's as if, just a bunch of people down there are just being argumentative in some sort of a way.
Well, friend...
And that wasn't corrected. That wasn't corrected by the moderator.
Look, you're right. To be honest with you, that has been the narrative up to now. But I have seen a bit of a sense of a change in some of the media. Some of the papers are beginning to write articles questioning the cost of this, questioning the need of this. But what I say to you, Fran, is if this was so important to Dublin, why haven't Irish Water got it over the line before now? If Dublin was so short of water, this started in 2007, nearly 20 years ago. They still haven't got a pipeline. The Irish Water now have put in such a weak planning application that it's going to fall at the first step. They're 6 years late putting in a planning application. They were supposed to have it in by 2019. And Fran, here's the thing. I would ask Jack Chambers and all the other TDs, have a look at Ishigairn's own water capacity for the Dublin region. I've read them. Anyone can go online and look at the water capacities for anywhere in the country. And Dublin has no shortage of water up to 2032. None whatsoever. So there's no area in Dublin in a red zone. So, read their own water capacity reports. That will tell them that there is no water.
So is this fear-mongering? Is this fear-mongering that's going on?
It is. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. If you say something often enough, it becomes reality. Dublin has not a water shortage. Dublin has a water management issue. They're losing 300,000 litres of expensively treated water a day into the ground. And if you put another 320 million litres of water a day into that system, it's going to leak even more. And so effectively what you'll be doing is you'll be pumping the River Shannon into the River Liffey. And that's what's happening. Now, thankfully, people are beginning to come on board and tell us, we told them about this. We told them they should take, where water comes out, water goes back in again, Fran, because it goes down through the pipe, the pump, the pipes and all the rest of it. It goes back into the system and it goes back into the River Liffey. But Dublin has no water shortage. This is the greatest waste of public money in the whole country. And also, at a time, as I said, when the ECJ are fining Ireland €19,000 a day since 2019. It's incredible what's going on in the background here. And here's another thing, Fran. Ishigairn built a new wastewater treatment plant in Ballina. Cost €19 million. They never put in a tertiary treatment system into it, which means that the water that's going back into the River Shannon hasn't been treated for the stuff that you get in washing machines and all the rest of it. Imagine that. And I put in questions to see are they going to do the same with Nina. So at a time where we've been heavily fined for the state of our rivers, they're still not putting in tertiary treatment plants into systems into our wastewater treatment plants. Irish Water are an absolute mess.
Have you a trump card though? Because the defective analysis on alternatives, I mean, the possibility there, it could make the project unlawful. So would you be willing to take that the whole way?
Of course we are. I mean, look, as I said, I started with 3 people in Kilmurray Lodge before Christmas, and we now have a massive campaign of people. Yes, we are. We have people willing to take this to the European Court because effectively Partine is protected by two very strong European directives. So, I mean, actually, where they're taking the water from is probably the most heavily protected area in the country, and having a hope of getting that across the line, Fran.
Will you stay with me for a moment, because you mentioned Councillor Phil Bugler, and she joins us now as well. Good morning to you, Phil.
Morning, Fran. How are you?
I'm very well, and thanks for joining us today. You heard that conversation with Shamie. Your own thoughts at this stage, Phil?
Well, I suppose just to take it back a little bit. I suppose it was about 2010 when Jerry Grant from Irish Water maybe and his colleagues came into us to propose the abstraction from Kerry Glass. And of course, we're opposing this for the last, I suppose, nearly 20 years now. And we've written so many objections to formerly Irish Water, now Ishigairn. I suppose, Fran, the nuts and bolts of this is the ecological damage to Lough Derg and the Lower Shannon.
Yes.
During the summer months of May, June, July and August, we may only have 10 cubic metres per second coming under the old Killaloe Bridge. All of that 10 cubic centimetres, 10 cubic metres per second has to go to Ardna Crusher to keep the bank safe. The bank has to be kept within 40 centimetres, which is 1 foot. So nothing will go down Partine Weir a lot of the time, even though the ESB say it's statutory 10 cubic metres. We haven't got all the figures yet, but I wonder if the 10 cubic metres per second are going down. In that case, even if it is 10, Ishgairn are going to take between 38 and 42%. If there's only 6 cubic metres coming under the bridge at Killaloe, that will rise to 78. So there's a big ecological damage for us. We already have algae bloom in Lough Derg. So because if the temperatures rise and if we have low flow, more concentrated water, we will have more algae bloom.
So you don't accept what Ishgairn are saying then when they speak about environmental safeguards and flow limits are planned to protect the ecosystem.
No,
you don't believe that, do you?
No, I don't. The 2% is flawed. They might get 2% in maybe the months of November, December, January, but certainly not in February. As well as that, Ishgairn have not taken into account that they're putting in water into the pipe which has cyanobacteria, blue-green algae. The amount of chlorine that will have to be put into that to kill the bacteria is astronomical. So the water going to Dublin will have a high concentration of trihalomethanes, which is chloroform, which is used in the dry
you're
cleaning
questioning,
industry.
this is very interesting, you're questioning the quality of the water then that will be going to Dublin.
Absolutely. I'm questioning the toxicity of the water going to Dublin. If I was in Dublin, I would not be drinking this water. It is because the process. I'm an industrial engineer. I'm an industrial chemist, PhD in organic chemistry. This is very, very serious, and the health minister and everybody needs to come out and check the quality of the water going into Dublin.
Right, and can I put it to you again? I put it to Shamie earlier on there, Phil, that Jack Chambers is saying that reliable water supplies, such as we're speaking about, completely necessary for housing development, industrial operations, public services, continued foreign investment. Yes,
Jack Chambers, I replied to his comment. He said the environmental concerns are unfounded. I replied to his comment and said, Jack, what environmental concerns are unfounded? Name them. I said also, Jack, this is not a project of national importance. It is a project of regional importance for the Greater Dublin area and Kildare. And you're pitting us, the Midwest, against Dublin. Dublin has alternatives. It has Paula Fuca with 19 billion litres of water, which would feed Dublin and London. Because they can do desalination, they have pool bag burning waste, they can just upgrade that, and they have the energy to do the desalination with 100% pure water for any data centres, etc. in Dublin. They have also have underground water aquifers in Dublin and in Kildare, which have been checked by Cllr drilling, there is loads of water in the ground in Dublin. And all they need to do is tap into it. But of course, there's no point until they fix the leaks and the lead connections that are in 180,000 houses in South Dublin.
Well, they're saying that they will do that in parallel with taking the water from Partine.
Well, I think the most common sense approach would be fix your leaks first and remove the lead pipe connections.
Right.
Also, there's a whole point missed here by Ishgairn is that the jet stream has moved. So Dublin and the East Coast are going to get a lot wetter, as we have seen in February. Dublin Airport said since records began, Dublin Airport had the wettest February in history. So the jet stream has moved. Dublin, the East Coast are going to get wetter. We're going to get drier. And this has also been substantiated by reports from University.
But again, Ishgairn arguing against that and saying that this, in fact, will improve climate resilience.
No, they've got it wrong. They don't understand that the jet stream has moved. Spain, Portugal are getting much wetter, as is the east coast of Ireland, as we have seen in February of this year.
And the what he said about you're just all being parochial about this. You don't see the big picture, Phil.
It's not a project of national importance. We in the Midwest, they talk about regional balanced development. It's not. We want Dublin to have water, but they have resources. They have the groundwater in Dublin, has been proven by Mulcair well drilling, who did the M7 bypass in Kildare. There are loads of aquifers there, which are 30 kilometres. Yeah. They have lots and lots of options. I said Paula Fuca only produces 0.2% electricity. Cllr should not be talking. They should be talking to the ESB to take the water from Paula Fuca, which was originally built as a reservoir from Dublin.
All right, Phil. Let me just go back to Seamus for a moment. Seamus, where from here then? I know the Tipperary County Council meeting today.
Yeah, well, look, we have the manager's report in front of us today. We do want to change. There's something else in it that we want to take out. To be fair to Phil, is the one that's been doing the work on that. Is we want to take out the community need, which has been offered to Tipperary County Council and been offered to Cllr and been offered. And we want that taken out of Tipperary County Council's manager's board, because there is no community need. The community need is the water, and it's not some money we're going to get because of Cllr and decide only to give a community benefit, just while the project is being built. So, we want that taken out of Tipperary County Council. But to be fair to Phil is the one that's been rallying.
And just finally, and because I'm running out of time, but what about the chambers? You have some issue about what the Irish Chamber said about this. Yeah,
look, I'm a very sad individual. I spent last weekend and probably every weekend over the last couple of weeks reading the submissions into Commission Penala, and I noticed that Chambers Ireland have fully supported the pipeline, fully supported the need for the pipeline. So I effectively, and I know Phil has done the same, have contacted Tipperary County Council, the Tipperary Chamber and the Nina Chamber of Commerce to see that did they have any input into Chambers Ireland in this, or is Chambers Ireland only an organisation that just looks after Dublin, and that needs to be questioned. And I've also invited any Chamber of Commerce in the Midwest to meet with the River Shannon Protection Line, so we can tell them what effect this will have on businesses into the future in the Midwest.
And the final word, Phil, you're willing to take this all the way?
All the way. And I'd say, look, I want to thank Tipperary County Council. After the CPG, the 2.5-hour meeting, corporate policy meeting on Wednesday, the environment people, which I have been in contact with for the last couple of months, and of course Brian Beck, they have changed their statement. They have put in an addendum on the ecological risks. I'm very happy with their wording. The only thing I want today is that the following 7 submissions would be attached to the Tipperary submission, which are the submission from the River Shannon Protection Alliance, from Dr. Will O'Connor, eminent environmentalist from Limerick, Dr. Sabrina Joyce Kemper, environmentalist and solicitor, and also the forum who advised the government on this abstraction of water from Lough Derg, from the Midlands region, etc. And also the submission from Seamus Morris, my own submission, and the submission from Alan Kelly TD and Fiona Bonfield and Louise Morris. So to get those submissions added, and if the community gain could be changed, that the community gain aspect of the Tipperary County Council weakens our objection. So if they change the wording, say, if in the event of this planning permission being granted, we would sit down with Cllr to discuss
all right.
Community funding.
I must leave it there, Phil, but thanks to you both. Thanks to Councillor Seamie Morris there and to Phil Bugler for that. Needless to say, we'll continue to follow that very important story. Back in just a few moments.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1-800-938 007.
And you're very welcome back to Tipp Today. Liam was on to us and he's advocating for water storage, water harvesting. And he's making the point that, are we mad? Rainwater is actually better for washing your cars or your lawns instead of the waste that's going on at the moment. People collect water, put a bloody water butt or a 45-gallon barrel under your downpipes and stop wasting water. This is Liam to us today on 083 311 3311. We're closing down the lines on our Mr. competition. Thank you for a huge amount of people getting involved in that this morning. We will choose a finalist and we will announce the winner of the €200 voucher on this coming Friday. Leanne is with me. Morning, Leanne.
Good morning, Fran. How are you?
We want to hear from our listeners. What do we want to hear from them?
Yeah, so since it's Shocked in the Gaeilge and Paddy's Day is coming up, we're really in the midst of learning about Irish traditions at the moment. So one that's come up and it's really, really interesting is Irish remedies, because the Irish are great for coming up with remedies for themselves.
Old folk remedies.
Old folk remedies. So I put up a post and it's had a great reaction. Some of them like 7-Up for a sick stomach.
Yeah,
which
flat 7-Up, is it? Yeah.
Mum gave that to me for everything.
Yeah, I know.
We always had a bottle of flat 7-Up in the house, and that was
disgusting.
Now I can't drink it normally because I feel like I'm sick.
Of course, yes.
Another one is warts for warts, a raw potato.
Just rubbing it on
Rubbing
the wart,
it, and you have to bury it, and you cannot dig it back up. And they say if someone digs it back up, then they get your warts.
Okay, run this by me again now. You rub the potato on the wart and you buried the potato.
You bury it. You don't tell anyone where you buried it.
Oh.
And if someone else comes along and digs it up, well, then they're going to get your warts.
That's incredible.
Yeah, another one is a wedding ring. Bless your eye with a wedding ring for a sty.
Yeah.
Tea bags for a sty on your eye as well.
It's incredible. Some of these go back to pagan times, and then, as you say, you bless yourself with. So there's a Christian element to it as well.
Yeah, it seems to be that before we had the doctors and the medical care that we have now, people found their own way to deal with things. Another one was like leeches if you had an infected wound. So they take like leeches and put them in the wound.
Dreadful thing.
And it would clean out the infection. Or another one, particularly on the Aran Islands, was cobwebs. So before plasters, if you had a nasty cut on your finger, you wrap your finger in a fresh spider's web, and that it was seal up the wound. Yeah, so there's so many of them out there. Another huge one would be on Stephen's Day, you bring home the blessed straw from the manger in the church.
Yeah.
And you use that. So you bless your throat. If you have a sore throat, if you have a sore eye, you use that piece of straw to bless it.
Very good. Now, my version of that is that you would put a piece of the straw in your wallet or your purse for economic stuff during the year.
I must try that one next. I haven't tried that one.
But
it might
plenty
work.
of money during the. You'd never be without money, seemingly. So,
yeah, there's so many of them. Or even we talked about on St. Bridget's Day, the scarf. You leave out a scarf. St. Bridget's passes.
I love that one.
So if you have a sore throat, you wrap that scarf around your neck throughout the year, and that her blessing will heal the throat.
It's great, isn't it? Oh, right. So if people want to share with us, we want to hear from them where that is, because somebody's very cross with you today. They say it's not Paddy's Day, it's St. Patrick's Day, the patron saint of our God. So that's telling you this morning, Leanne.
Sorry, apologies. I think though, yeah, you have to have a bit of crack with it. It is serious. There is a religious holiday there, but for some people, it is also a day of celebration for tradition. It's a bit of crack. People like to get out there. It's kind of taken a huge turn, which we'll chat about later in the week, from the traditional religious side of it to something now that's a day of celebration and maybe having a few too many drinks.
Well, there you go. All right. So again, let's hear from people. 083 311 3311. Of course, there was war over the weekend about International Women's Day, and particularly where Dublin Zoo was concerned, because the image they used was of a man. No, this isn't a trans thing. It was a man dressed
in drag
as a woman. Yeah, in drag. And people really got so cross.
Really. And it came out on two sides, because automatically there was people who were really, really annoyed by the whole idea, which I kind of was expecting when I saw the picture. But then there was a huge branch of people who were annoyed that other people were annoyed. They were saying, this, like, you're doing exactly what we thought you'd do. This is a bit of crack. It's a bit of fun. Relax.
Well, relax. Okay, it's a bit of fun, but it was International Women's Day. Why would they put a man dressed as a woman?
To promote Mother's Day as well.
Yeah.
That was the other side of it. It was unusual, and sometimes in situations like this, you kind of have to wonder, like, if a PR person sat down and looked at this, they saw this coming. So is it a thing that this could be utilised to monetise?
So it's because we're all talking about it now, is that it?
Yeah, it's called rage baiting. So it's actually a PR strategy.
So you're saying they knew that this would generate
I think that any
controversy.
Trained and educated PR person would have seen this coming. And what actually surprised me is my boyfriend's from Poland, and I actually didn't realise International Women's Day is huge in Europe. Huge, because in Ireland it kind of just feels like any other day.
It kind of went under the radar here, isn't it? What was it yesterday?
Yesterday, and it's huge because even he came into the house and he said, right, I need to get flowers for you, for your mother, for your grandmother. That morning he had texted all of his female relatives across Europe. This is a huge thing, and I even saw videos online of other Europeans in Ireland driving to their female friends and relatives' house with flowers. So it's a really big deal across Europe, but in Ireland it just seems to kind of be any other day. It was nothing I thought much of.
No, I didn't even know it was happening, to be honest with you, except I saw some stuff online where that was concerned. But we'd love to know what people think about the image for Dublin Zoo. You're saying it was for Mother's Day particularly, was it?
Yeah, it went out on Women's Day and it was for Mother's Day. I think there was a series of images. But the big argument online is, with the way the world has gone, with how social media has gone, it's very easy to know what will stir the pot. So if a PR person sat down and saw this image, would they not have seen this coming?
Yeah, but you see, if you're right about this, I was one of the people taken in by it.
But look at all the popularity and the amount of people that might go to that now just for the fact of all the outrage.
Well, certainly we all know about Dublin Zoo now because of that. So
we all do. And if they had to put up a normal image, would anybody have cared? Would it have got shared online? So now if you take it that thousands or millions of people have seen this image, that's probably 3 or 4 times the amount of reach they were going to expect on a normal picture.
God, it's all gone so cynical, isn't it? Absolutely. Somebody saying milk from the dandelion will cure your wart as well.
Nettle tea was actually another huge one.
Right.
And nettle soup that we've heard come in.
Nettle soup.
For your throat and for your sinus. That you have to pick them fresh at a certain time of year. There's a whole thing around it.
Are you serious?
And it has to be done properly.
All right, we need to hear from people on this because we will continue this during the week and we'll chat to
I need
some
a few
people.
remedies for myself. It's that time of year. It's cold and flu season.
I have man flu today, so I could badly do with some remedy. Even though Liam was on immediately to say, pure, good, decent local honey.
I swear by it. And Liam is kind enough to drop it into us. And there's been more than once that I have gone to Liam's honey and taken a big spoon for a sore throat, and I swear by it.
There you go. Well, I'll try it later on and I will report back on that. Leanne, thanks very much. If you want to speak to Leanne, it's 1800 938 007. We're having a little bit of a problem with our phones today, but we're attempting to sort all of that out. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311 Nook to August and Old Sick Chocked.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat. Welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today. Well, Leanne certainly has started something. Fran, if you get a bad cut on your hand or your leg or anywhere, you pee on it and it stops the bleeding. And it's a very good disinfectant. Now, how you could pee on your head, I'm not all that sure, but there you go. It's one to ponder on. I'm sure you'll agree. Yes, cobwebs for arresting bleeding. Looking through a gold ring for a sty in your eye. Rubbing the dew on your face on May morning. At dawn for acne. 3 meals of young nettle tops in May for topping up the iron content in the blood after the winter. Dandelion juice for warts. Our brain believes what we tell it and our body reacts accordingly. What do you think, Fran? Says Betty. Well, I think you could well be right, Betty. 083 311 3311. Start Global News, and delighted to be joined as usual by Thomas Conway from the Nina Guardian. Good morning to you, Thomas.
Good morning, Fran.
And good to see you today. Will we start with the brand new Supreme Leader for Iran? Will you tell us about him?
56-year-old Mujtaba Khamenei, second son of the late Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. He is a hardliner. Heavily influential in terms of his links to the IRGC, that's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the regime's Praetorian Guard. There has been speculation for years that Mujtaba would be Ali Khamenei's successor. Now, there was some fear on the part of the late Supreme Leader that because he was his son, that he may not be an ideal choice because it would introduce the idea of a hereditary line of succession, and that's exactly what the theocracy was established to get rid of, with the Shah and all that.
My understanding of that now is very deep and we can't afford to go into it, but that would be the difference between Shiite and
Yes, yeah, because it has to do with the succession to the Prophet Muhammad, and it goes back centuries. And yeah, I think you're right there. And Iran obviously is predominantly Shia as a country. Places like Saudi Arabia would be more sunny.
Yes.
So that's, that was one of the concerns. Another concern about Mujtaba is he's relatively inexperienced politically. And in terms of his religious qualifications. I mentioned it on Friday, he's a mid-ranking cleric. He's not an ayatollah, which is the highest ranking cleric you can have, or one of the higher senior clerics. Politically, we know very little about him. I mean, I've heard reports that Iranians don't know what he sounds like. We have a few pictures of him. He bears kind of an uncanny resemblance to his father, except younger. And it will be very interesting to see how much power he wields. I suspect because there was a plan for when the Supreme Ali Khamenei was assassinated, apparently he delegated a lot of power to the IRGC, to the different factions there, and told them to almost operate autonomously. So I'm not sure how much power Mujtaba will have over the wider Islamic Republic. It's going to be very interesting. He will also have a problem in keeping himself alive, because immediately now he is a prime target for the US and for Israel.
Was his wife not killed in the attack on the Ayatollah?
His wife was killed, his mother was killed, his sister was killed, and he was apparently injured. Now, obviously, he wasn't grievously injured, because he must be in some he must have the capability to take on this job, and it is a gargantuan job.
And having the support of the Revolutionary Guard Corps, that is vital here.
Yeah, I think that was probably the core reason that the Assembly of Experts, which is the 88-member body that elects the Supreme Leader, that was the core reason that they appointed him. He apparently has links going back decades to the IRGC, and the IRGC are the military wing, almost the military police of the Islamic Republic. Yes. They wield enormous amounts of power, and although they have been degraded to an extent by the Israeli and the US strikes, I think they are still quite prominent. The election of Mujtaba Khamenei is a blow to anyone hoping for regime change in Iran, and indeed to President Trump as well.
Yes, because this guy is still going to be hostile, obviously, with the killing of his family, to Israel and America.
Absolutely, and it'll be very, very interesting what way he approaches America. You would imagine he will take a hardline stance. I mean, America is known as the great Satan amongst these people in Iran. I don't think that is going to change after what has happened over the past few days. People both sides trading strikes. Yes. Israel hit that oil refinery in Tehran. Tehran has threatened to hit an oil refinery in Saudi Arabia. And that has obviously huge implications in terms of oil prices here. Oil has topped $110 a barrel. There is an energy crisis particularly afflicting Asia. Apparently there's panic in the Asian energy markets, and the fear is that would spread towards the Western world, and that would have huge implications here.
And with such a hardline leader now, maybe even more hardline than his father, any hope of negotiation, I guess, is that doubtful?
He's in a corner to a certain extent, because militarily I think this operation has been a success from the point of view of the US and Israel. I mean, they've degraded Iran's military capacity, they've effectively crushed the navy, and they have aerial supremacy over part of the Iranian skies. Now, politically, it has not, because you see this with the election of a hardliner. The question is, does the new Khamenei change his tune here? And realise that in order to perhaps save his Islamic Republic, that he's going to have to sit down at the table, and he's not going to negotiate directly with Mr. Trump, but he's going to have to make some sort of deal. Now, we're getting all sorts of mixed messages from the White House. That's worth noting. I mean, Trump looking for Iran's unconditional surrender. And of course, the next question is, what does that exactly mean? It could mean anything. From Trump's perspective, it could mean anything from the dissolution of the Islamic Republic to the moderation of its policies and its hold over Iranian society.
But it's interesting to look at what would happen, though. I mean, even if an agreement was was arrived at. I mean, surely there's just going to be a rebuilding of the ruling class again in Iran. Is that not just from scratch? They'll rebuild again.
Yeah, I think that is a likelihood. I think it's not going to precipitate the widespread systemic change that many of those protesters would have hoped. Because there doesn't seem to have been a succession plan. It has been said that Israel and the US were planning this for months. Benjamin Netanyahu meeting Donald Trump, but there doesn't seem to have been an after plan, or at least we can't see it unfolding yet. Militarily, as I said, stunning success, and for all the lives that have been lost, America and Israel have struck Iran very effectively. They've assassinated the supreme leader, and they've decapitated a lot of the regime. But politically, there doesn't seem to be a succession plan. The Shah, or the son of the late Shah, Reza Pahlavi, was mentioned. He was kind of dismissed by Trump. And then you kind of find yourself going back to the Venezuela option, which doesn't really seem applicable to Iran.
It's interesting, and now this is beginning to hit Mr. Trump at home, because obviously the price of gas has gone through the roof for Americans, and with the big gas guzzling cars that they have out there, this is going to hit them in the pocket big time. So surely there's going to be a cry out to say, end this. This has to stop.
Yeah, and the thing about, I think Mr. Trump has framed this conflict in a way that he can call time at any stage. He can, the way he is, he can...
And claim victory.
And claim victory.
Yeah.
He can just declare a win. We took out the Ayatollah. We eliminated their ballistic missile threat, their nuclear facilities, even if that's not certain, and walk away. But I think the grand plan, the grand objective here, certainly from an Israeli perspective, would be to take out the regime and let something replace it. Now,
what would that something be?
There was talk over the weekend of arming the Kurds,
yes.
and that would trigger an insurgency in part of Iran.
And they would invade,
essentially, yeah. And the Kurds have been allies of the US and Israel. They fought in the fight against Islamic State. They're spread across multiple countries: Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and I think their largest faction is in Iran. But that could trigger all sorts of implications.
So he's saying, Trump is saying no to that.
Trump is saying no to that.
Yeah.
Trump has effectively dismissed that. Now I suppose he could turn around theoretically and say we've reconsidered, but I don't think that is a strategy, because that could precipitate a civil war, and that, a civil war in Iran is not what the Middle East needs right now.
Well, what about the girls' elementary school that was struck? What is the latest on that, and who was culpable there?
It seems that it was a US strike. That's what a lot of reputable news agencies are reporting.
And again, Donald Trump is denying that.
Donald Trump is denying this. He's been almost silent on it, and then he said it wasn't us. He has dismissed their involvement. But I mean, whatever way you look at it, that is a war crime.
Yes. Is he claiming that it was an Iranian missile that went astray or something?
Yeah, that's the speculation or that's the suggestion that he has put out there. I don't see how that's tenable or how that holds up. I don't see how it holds weight. And I mean, with the civilian casualties there, and the fact that so many of them are children, it's going to warrant an investigation, and apparently it is being investigated, but you just don't know what comes out of those investigative authorities. But it seems that it was an American strike, from what I can glean.
The relationship then between Donald Trump and Keir Starmer, the UK and the States, would you just bring us up to speed on that?
Yeah, well, it plummeted on Saturday over the weekend. Trump chastised Starmer in a post on Truth Social. He had previously said that he's no Winston Churchill and derided him like that. He once again criticised our once great ally, the United Kingdom, and criticised them for only wanting to join the war when it was already won. Now, apparently, there was a phone call between Starmer and Trump late yesterday afternoon. It's not exactly clear what emerged from that, but there is speculation now that the UK will allow UK bases to be used for defensive actions against Iranian strikes, which is essentially a continuation of the policy they've been they've been involved in up to now. But there's, it's creating a lot of friction within the UK domestically. You have Kemi Badenoch of the Conservatives saying they should have joined the strikes. Nigel Farage taking a similar line. And then you have parties like the Greens, Zach Polanski, the leader of the Green Party, who are on the rise after that win in that Gorton and Denton by-election, criticising Starmer for his approach. So all sorts of divisions within the UK at the moment, and certainly this doesn't bode well for the so-called special relationship between the UK and the US, and it puts Starmer in a difficult spot. He's already in a difficult spot at home for reasons that are well known. Internationally, he had performed a bit better, but suddenly now, in the face of this new crisis in the Middle East, he's in a bit of trouble.
But you can understand why he would be cautious about military involvement.
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
And there was an astonishing intervention by Tony Blair over the course of the weekend. In which he effectively suggested that the UK should have joined in the strikes. Now, the irony of Tony Blair saying that when in 2003 it was perhaps the worst decision of a UK Prime Minister.
The weapons of mass destruction.
In many a decade. And that was probably the primary reason that Starmer was so cautious to join in those strikes. In the first place, he will have been obviously well aware of what happened to Blair, and people will have been in his ear, and he didn't want that. He didn't want history effectively to repeat itself. But certainly he has to walk a delicate tightrope here. Micheál Martin similarly will have to walk a very delicate tightrope on St. Patrick's Day when he meets Trump, because he is the next foreign leader.
Yes, and with President Connolly now speaking out and laying her cards very firmly on the table, you'd imagine, is that going to affect what's going to happen in the White House?
Well, Trump can pick up on anything, and he's not going to like the fact that President Connolly, all somebody has to do is whisper in his ear that she's a leftist, and immediately that will create a bit of friction there. I mean, it is a balancing act that Micheál Martin has to play. Now, some people say, many people say that he should go over there and stick it to Donald Trump and almost not confront him, but stand up for Ireland's values. Personally speaking, I think that's a bad idea. I think
all it's going to get you is a few moments of sort of theatre, and then after that, what about the outcome of that?
Well, indeed, yeah, and Micheál, or the Taoiseach rather, I should say, is likely to take a much more balanced approach. I suspect he will try and steer clear of the Iranian issue, although it will inevitably come up with that press conference with leaders. But Trump is fond, he's relatively fond of Ireland. He hasn't come at us like we anticipated because of the pharmaceuticals and that. They've been mentioned, but he hasn't attacked us, gone on a full frontal assault. So you would hope that it remains that way.
It's going to be interesting. Well, you did predict that this war was going to happen. Give me your prediction now on when it's going to end and how it's going to end, Thomas.
I think it'll be a 4 or 5 week operation. We're into what? We're into week 2 now. I think it will last a matter of weeks, and I think Donald Trump will create his own off-ramp and declare a victory at a time of his choosing. That I don't think the signs now, the indications are that won't mean regime change in Iran, that the current theocratic Islamic regime will remain in place, but it may moderate itself. Even though they've elected Mojtaba Khamenei now, even though there is a hardline successor there, if they continue to be degraded by the military strikes, and if the Gulf nations continue to express, anger at Iran lashing out, Iran will be backed into a corner, and I think it will have to go back to some sort of negotiation. And I think Trump will declare a win from that negotiation.
Well, the primaries on the way, and that will dictate a lot. I'm sure you will agree. Vladimir Putin, where this is concerned, then he's in a tough spot here, isn't he?
To a certain extent, he is, yeah, because this is the second Russian ally, along with Maduro in Venezuela, that the US has attacked or taken out essentially in the past number of months. Prior to that, he saw Syria fall under Bashar al-Assad, another Russian ally, and it does put him in a tough spot. The one thing is, though, there's a glimmer of light for him. I think he'll be laughing in delight at the higher oil prices. That is likely to benefit Russia, because higher oil prices their poor compensation, they've shown, Russia's weakness has been shown up, but they do disproportionately benefit Russia because of the oil it supplies. So that will be an economic boon for him.
Yes.
But more broadly speaking, in the round, there are questions in terms of Russia's military relationship with Iran. I mean, there's speculation that Russia has been supplying Iran with, I think, S-300 missile defence systems. They're a sophisticated form of defence systems. Iran has for quite a while now been supplying Russia with Shahed drones, which have been used intensively by the Russian forces during the war in Ukraine. So it's a relationship which cuts both ways.
But there's no guarantee of military help.
No, and I think, I think Vladimir Putin will prioritise his relationship with Donald Trump over his relationship with the Islamic regime. I think that because it serves his interests more, because he sees he can play Donald Trump, and in relation to Ukraine, it's far more beneficial to him to keep Donald Trump on side rather than provoke him by going and doing something like, supplying the Iranians.
In other news then, China's president, is he getting hardline on disloyalty towards the party?
Yeah, he is. And there was a conference last week. It's called the Two Sessions Conference. It's a big political conference in China whereby the Chinese call it a parliament, but it's not really a parliament because China is a dictatorship. The Communist Party rules, but it does have a kind of a political structure there.
Yes.
They meet and determine economic policy, but Xi Jinping used it as a message to kind of crack down on anyone being disloyal within the party. People will remember maybe that he sacked 2 of his generals some weeks ago, and that was widely regarded as an indicator that he was not tolerating dissent, and he used this conference to reinforce that message last week.
New Prime Minister for Nepal?
Yeah, bordering China, country of 30 million people actually, and you'll like this guy now, Balendra Shah. He's a former rapper, a rapper and a hip hop, so a musician.
Why do you
like
think
yourself.
I might like a rapper?
Well, he's a musician. There's some relation
Yes,
there, you know.
yes.
Now, he does have a bit of political experience. He was the mayor of Kathmandu, but this follows a revolution. Well, not a revolution. There was kind of an uprising in Nepal last September.
Yes.
There was over 100 killed. They called them the Generation Z or Generation Z revolution. And this is off the back of that. He's led this party to success, it appears. Results still emerging. And Balendra Shah is his name. He's about to become the next Prime Minister of Nepal.
And super election year in Germany as well, and sort of volatile time in Germany.
And there's an update on this. Yeah, Germany held a state election yesterday in Baden-Württemberg. That's a state in the southwest. I think it's one of Germany's biggest. It's one of the wealthiest states anyway.
Yes.
It was a blow to Friedrich Merz. The Green Party emerged from what the initial results are showing. The Green Party are going to emerge as winners there, and that is a big blow to Friedrich Merz. I mean, his popularity is not good at home. He's been very strong in the war in Ukraine, things like that, but the German economy probably isn't doing brilliant. Some people have described it as a disaster for him, but certainly it's a blow to his authority. And you mentioned super election year. Yeah, 5 of Germany's 16 states, and Germany is a federation, 16
Yes.
different states, but 5 of them go to the polls this year. So all those elections are ones to watch.
All right, Thomas, pleasure as always. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming
Frank.
into us today. Thomas Conway there from the Nina Guardian. We'll take a break, back in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tipfm.com.
Now, Fiona Kennedy was on to say herself and her son, singer-songwriter Larkin, will be voting for Dee, and Fiona says a fantastic performer and also supportive and encouraging to Larkin as well. Well, we all want to wish Dee the very, very best tomorrow night, and if you can at all, I know money's tight for people, but if you can at all vote for her, it would be much appreciated. Now, Irish households have been advised by the European Union to stockpile at least 72 hours worth of food, water and essential supplies as fears of a global conflict escalates. Now, Frank Deegan is a co-founder of the Irish Survivalist Group, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, Frank. we got Frank? Good morning to you, Frank.
Fran, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine indeed, no problem at all.
Great.
We're getting a little bit of feedback from you there. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm just going to ask Leanne if she can sort that out for us, because we're getting a bit of a echo back on that line for some reason or other. We might try a phone line, do you think, Leanne? Do you think we might be able to do that? We're having lots of gremlins in our phone system, so we're going to see if we can do something about that and see if we can clean up that particular line. Let me just try for Frank again. Good morning to you, Frank.
Hey, Fran, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. We have a little bit of echo back on the line, but can I put it to you? I presume you would go along with that notion of the stockpile of at least 72 hours worth of food, do you think, Frank?
Yeah. Well, the booklet is kind of a little bit late to the party, I think. The rest of Europe has published booklets in the last 4 or 5 years. The Irish government had one from 1963 when the height of the Cold War, so they published one. And I can hardly pronounce it. It's a nuclear book on protection for the home and on the farm. And it's called, if my Irish is good, Cassant. Oh, geez, that's terrible. I can't answer that. I'm just terrible at Irish, I'm sorry. But anyway, there's a new booklet coming out from the Irish government, and it's advising all people in Ireland to stockpile at least 3 days or 72 hours worth of food and some emergency equipment in your house in the event that there's some kind of an emergency. There's no indication of what kind of emergency, but you never know. We're not mind readers, so it's always useful to have at least 72 hours. That's the minimum. I would recommend 10 days, but sure, you know, they have to start somewhere with the 72 hours.
Absolutely. I'm still conscious that we've a little bit of echo there. I'm not sure. Are you on hands free or something like that, Frank? Are you?
No, I'm not. Actually, do you know what? I got another call. If Leanne wants to give me a buzz,
all right.
I'll take.
All right. Let me see if Leanne can get it back on a phone line for us. We're having a lot of trouble with our phones this morning, and I'm assured that it's being looked after. Anyway, if you want to make contact with us, 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tipfm.com at any time at all. All right, then let us see. We have Frank back on our phone line now, I think.
Yeah, Fran, how is that? Is that better for you?
That's much better. At least we don't have that echo there. Anyway, we don't want to be fear-mongering for people out there. That's very important as well, isn't it?
Well, basically, it's I think people should just start to come aware of what's going on in the world, because we don't live in a bubble. People think we live in a bubble. We don't. It's the real world out there. You have the Iran crisis going on at the moment. You have Ukraine going on at the moment. You don't know what's coming next week. All of the other countries might decide this is a good time to invade Europe and speak. I'm talking literally about Russia. There's a huge threat from them. I think everybody can agree there. But the booklet that they've brought out, as I said, it's just an advisory for everybody, and everybody in the country will get one of these booklets in the next week or two. We're promised in the next few weeks, so they should be here. Yes. And it's just basically advising people as what to have in your house. Now, you wouldn't think this, but a crank radio, an ordinary radio with batteries, how many people have that still?
Very, very few, I would say. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a small thing. Plus, if the power went off, you'd need a battery, and most people don't have radios in the house anymore. A crank battery is one that they recommend. That's the one I would recommend as well. The cheapest chips, and they have all kinds of bells and whistles on them.
Right, these are the ones you kind of wind them up. Is that it?
Well, they'd have batteries in it, but in a long-term power outage, you can wind it to keep charging it, and it has flashlights as well on them as well, and Bluetooth functions also. Head torches is a standard one, or candles. Now, candles are a little fire hazard, but head torches, they're all rechargeable this weather with C connections on them, so it's a no-brainer. Most houses should have them handy when they actually. I mean, how often does the electric go off? In fairness, pretty regular in my area.
Well, for sure in my area as well. What else should we be stockpiling, do you think?
Okay, well, guarantee you should have at least a couple of 30, 50 litres of water somewhere in the house, or even more if you have them. So you can buy the 5 litre cans in Super Value or Aldi or Lidl, any of them. They're great ones to have, and you can always refill them. That's the cheapest of the whole lot. It's free. Have water, because I live down in, where am I living? I'm living near Waterford in Carrigain, and our power and water goes off regularly, and only twice the whole lot of it went off. So we had no power and no water, because they work on pumps and all that kind of stuff. The other things we need, as well as water, is sustainable food that can survive at room temperature. Now, calling it room temperature food basically means you can store it for long term somewhere in a dark cupboard or under the stairs or somewhere where there's nothing going to interfere with it,
Yeah.
So the likes of that, you could be talking about Spam for all the world. Like, Spam has been going for
So
years.
tinned goods, I guess, Frank, is that it?
Tinned goods for sure, yeah. Camping stove with fuel. Now, if camping stoves are cheap, everything I'm talking about here is relatively, there's nothing mad expensive. Everything is within reason.
Yeah.
It's like if we had a big snow out, like tomorrow morning, 10 feet of snow, would you be able to get to the shop, So the snow will take a few days to clear, all that kind of stuff. Can you survive at home for that 10 days, basically? So with a camping stove, then you obviously that generates a bit of heat as well. So you need warm clothes, blankets, sleeping bags in the house, which I'd say most people have them anyway. Matches, tea lights and candles would be another thing. That heats candles, actually. Tea lights are a great one when you close the door in a house. So a sitting room or something, you light up a few tea candles. But if it really gets cold, what they do recommend is, if you have a tent in the attic, grab it, set the tent up in a room, close it down, go to sleep in that. It keeps the heat in that tent. So you're not going to be spreading your heat out.
That's a very good tip. I guess medicine as well. I mean, if you're on tablets and the like, you'd have to be careful.
Yeah, you see, that's a little that's one that it's a little hard one to do, because the pharmacist will only give you.
That's right.
They'll only give you a month's supply. So
what's on your prescription? Yeah.
Exactly. That's all they do for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's something that needs to be looked at? Do you think that an emergency supply should be available?
Well, let's say if you had a chat with your pharmacist, they are flexible. Like, if you said I'm going away for 6 months or 6 weeks, they will give you a certain amount. Pharmacist, medical, hygiene items is another thing that you don't think about, and plus dog food and pet food, that kind of stuff as well. They have to eat also. Now, something I do recommend people have in the house is power banks. Ways of charging batteries and extra batteries. I myself have a little solar-powered power bank with 650 watts, and it's enough to run my computers, my TV. I just plug it in, but I also have solar in the house. But that kind of let me down during the winter, because the panels are pointing in the wrong direction during the winter. Another thing to have in the house, and it's called cash is king. Have some form of cash in small denominations.
Yes.
5s, 10s, because you go up to a shop, they don't have a till, or the electric mightn't be working. Only cash might work. They might not. They might say, check off on I don't want any cash.
Yeah.
Some of them are. They do that, An alternative phone is also another thing. People should maybe have. If you're along my lines, I'd have an alternative phone. I do have one with SIM card in it, but I only discovered the SIM is only good for about 9 months until you activate it, and then it's gone.
Okay. But you're saying one of these cheap, over-the-counter phones, burner phones, as they call them,
10, 20 euro job, something that you can call 999 on or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go a bit more extreme to where I am onto ham radio as well. So I have what's called a mutual assistance group, which means I'm in touch with people around my community and we can talk via handheld radios or ham radio. I have a big antenna on my roof. We can talk away. We've been putting all these things to the test and trialing them out just in case something does happen one day. We know how to contact each other. I was speaking to a guy in Italy on one of the groups, and he was as if he was in the same room with me, and I was using a ham radio on FM, like the CB radio. For all the world.
Yeah. I remember a friend of mine was big into that years ago, but you have to power that up. So
you can power that up with a 12-volt battery or the battery.
Oh, right, okay.
Litre. They all work that way, and plus if you have the power supplies that I have, there should be no issue that way.
Do you take it so far that you have a place you could go? I mean, do you have a bunker, or do you have a safe
you see,
spot?
This is a topic that people are always trying to get out of me. We have a safe spot that will hold about 150 people. And I can't tell you exactly where it is, but it is in County Tipperary. That's all
Wow.
I'm saying.
Wow.
There you go. We have actually two, but the second one is in County Kilkenny. That's a smaller one. But the main one is in County Tip, and that's where we kind of we're more or less, we meet up if there's a huge emergency. That's understood within the group.
And what would you constitute being a huge emergency? What?
Oh, if we'll just say Russia dropped a nuclear bomb on France or England, we're in trouble then. They're not going to nuke us. But
the fallout, of course,
the
yes.
radiation and fallout, we don't want any of that. And once that fallout comes in, you won't be able to step your foot outside of the door for about a week. Yeah, they say a few days, but a week is enough.
And who were these 150 people, Frank, who'd make their way to that bunker then? I mean, how do you...
Well, you see, this is also another one, because I vet everybody. So we do have a vet. And
you have a kind of a club or something, do you? Do you have a...
we're in a group, yeah. We're actually meeting up at the end of the month in County Tipperary as well. So there's in excess of about 40 people. We don't want any more than 40. That's actually too many even. But we're going to be doing a weekend. We do this regularly. We just meet up and chat and we talk to each other and we discuss various topics and whatever, and have a few beers over a campfire as well. It's great fun, and it's a great way of meeting people as well.
And is that do you feel that there's a threat, a serious threat at this point? Are you concerned about this?
No, I'm not. I started this back in the 2009-10. And I did, I think, for mental health as well, because at that time there was we were in a bit of a depression here. You know, people were losing their jobs left, right, and centre, and I was putting up videos on YouTube of me going out camping and doing various survival things. You know, because I'm ex-Navy, so I kind of I brought it up and increased my skills, as you say. So a lot of people saw it and they say, "Oh, that looks great. Can we come out and spend the weekend?" The next thing, 80, 90, 100 people, 200 people even. We've had 200 people at these gatherings. It got to the stage where health and safety was a big issue, because we're talking toilets and we're talking running water and all the things that need for 200 people. You know, it doesn't exactly it doesn't blend in seamlessly. So we knocked it on the head and we brought it down to about 20 to 40. 20 is more or less enough for me. I'm well able to handle 20. So we've been doing it since 2009. I set up the group 2012, and we're still active. As I said, we're out next week, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the weather plays ball.
Yeah, it's incredible, and you'd have to be careful of that, because all the personalities would want to blend pretty well together. Frank.
We got initially a lot of alpha males, if you understand what that means.
Sure, yeah.
And that was an issue. We had to figure that one out. How do we get around that? So, as I said, we kind of screen people, and if we don't like it, you're out. So, you know, if you run into a bunker with people, you got to be able to get on with them.
And as a former Navy person, can I just ask you about how you feel about the war that's going on in Iran at the moment and the fallout from there?
I hate seeing the price of petrol and diesel going up. I just see it this morning. I listened to it again this morning. It's gone over €2.
Yeah.
And I said that happened when Ukraine started, and I'm wondering, I mean, we're still suffering with Ukraine.
Yeah.
The prices came back down again. But, I mean, our government should jump in and say, look, you just can't gazump the price.
And do you think that's what's going on out there, this price gouging?
100%. They're making as much money as they can. Then they calm down. Because we get our oil and stuff from the North Sea. So this shouldn't really affect us.
Yeah, well, it looks, as you say yourself, I've seen it go over €2 in certain places as well last night. So, yeah, we can look forward to that. Frank, it's a real pleasure to talk to you, and big interest in what you're doing as well from our listeners this morning. Thanks for coming on, Frank. Thank you.
Sure. If anybody wants to see us online, we're on Facebook there on the Irish Survivalist and Prepper Group, or the Irish Survivalist Group ISG. You'll find us there.
Very good. Look after yourself, Frank. Thank you, and bye-bye to you now. It's Frank Deegan speaking to us there from the Irish Survivalist Group. It's interesting, isn't it? News and information's coming up.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tipfm.com.
Now, Fiona Kennedy was on to say herself and her son, singer-songwriter Larkin, will be voting for Dee, and Fiona says a fantastic performer and also supportive and encouraging to Larkin as well. Well, we all want to wish Dee the very, very best tomorrow night, and if you can at all, I know money's tight for people, but if you can at all vote for her, it would be much appreciated. Now, Irish households have been advised by the European Union to stockpile at least 72 hours worth of food, water and essential supplies as fears of a global conflict escalates. Now, Frank Deegan is a co-founder of the Irish Survivalist Group, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, Frank. Have we got Frank? Good morning to you, Frank.
Fran, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine indeed, no problem at all.
Great.
We're getting a little bit of feedback from you there. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm just going to ask Leanne if she can sort that out for us, because we're getting a bit of a echo back on that line for some reason or other. We might try a phone line, do you think, Leanne? Do you think we might be able to do that? We're having lots of gremlins in our phone system, so we're going to see if we can do something about that and see if we can clean up that particular line. Let me just try for Frank again. Good morning to you, Frank.
Hey, Fran, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. We have a little bit of echo back on the line, but can I put it to you? I presume you would go along with that notion of the stockpile of at least 72 hours worth of food, do you think, Frank?
Yeah. Well, the booklet is kind of a little bit late to the party, I think. The rest of Europe has published booklets in the last 4 or 5 years. The Irish government had one from 1963 when the height of the Cold War, so they published one, and I can hardly pronounce it. It's a nuclear book on protection for the home and on the farm, and it's called, if my Irish is good, Cassant. Oh, geez, that's terrible. I can't pronounce it. I'm just terrible at Irish, I'm sorry. But anyway, there's a new booklet coming out from the Irish government, and it's advising all people in Ireland to stockpile at least 3 days or 72 hours worth of food and some emergency equipment in your house in the event that there's some kind of an emergency. There's no indication of what kind of emergency, but you never know. We're not mind readers, so it's always useful to have at least 72 hours. That's the minimum. I would recommend 10 days, but they have to start somewhere with the 72 hours.
Absolutely. I'm still conscious that we've a little bit of echo there. I'm not sure. Are you on hands-free or something like that, Frank? Are you?
No, I'm not. Actually, do you know what? I got another call. If Leanne wants to give me a buzz,
all right.
I'll take.
All right. Let me see if Leanne can get it back on a phone line for us. We're having a lot of trouble with our phones this morning, and I'm assured that it's being looked after. Anyway, if you want to make contact with us, 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tipfm.com at any time at all. All right, then let us see. We have Frank back on our phone line now, I think.
Yeah, Fran, how is that? Is that better for you?
That's much better. At least we don't have that echo there. Anyway, we don't want to be fear-mongering for people out there. That's very important as well, isn't it?
Well, basically, it's I think people should just start to come aware of what's going on in the world, because we don't live in a bubble. People think we live in a bubble. We don't. It's the real world out there. You have the Iran crisis going on at the moment. You have Ukraine going on at the moment. You don't know what's coming next week. All of the other countries might decide this is a good time to invade Europe and speak. I'm talking literally about Russia. There's a huge threat from them. I think everybody can agree there. But the booklet that they've brought out, as I said, it's just an advisory for everybody, and everybody in the country will get one of these booklets in the next week or two. We're promised in the next few weeks, so they should be here. Yes. And it's just basically advising people as what to have in your house. Now, you wouldn't think this, but a crank radio, an ordinary radio, batteries, how many people have that still?
Very, very few, I would say. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a small thing. Plus, if the power went off, you'd need a battery, and most people don't have radios in the house anymore. A crank battery is one that they recommend. That's the one I would recommend as well. The cheapest chips, and they have all kinds of bells and whistles on them.
Right, these are the ones you kind of wind them up. Is that it?
Well, they'd have batteries in it, but in a long-term power outage, you can wind it to keep charging it, and it has flashlights as well on them as well, and Bluetooth functions also. Head torches is a standard one, or candles. Now, candles are a little fire hazard, but head torches, they're all rechargeable this weather with C connections on them, so that's a no-brainer. Most houses should have them handy when they actually. I mean, how often does the electric go off? In fairness, pretty regular in my area.
Well, for sure in my area as well. What else should we be stockpiling, do you think?
Okay, well, guarantee you should have at least a couple of 30, 50 litres of water somewhere in the house, or even more if you haven't. So you can buy the 5 litre cans in Super Value or Aldi or Lidl, any of them. They're great ones to have, and you can always refill them. That's the cheapest of the whole lot. It's free. Have water, because I live down in, where am I living? I'm living near Waterford in Carrigain, and our power and water goes off regularly, and only twice the whole lot of it went off. So we had no power and no water, because they work on pumps and all that kind of stuff. The other things we need as well as water is sustainable food that can survive at room temperature. Now, calling it room temperature food basically means you can store it for long term somewhere in a dark cupboard or under the stairs or somewhere where there's nothing going to interfere with it, you know. Yeah. So the likes of that, you could be talking about Spam for all the world. Like, Spam has been going for hundreds of years.
Tinned goods, I guess, Frank, is that it?
Tinned goods for sure, yeah. Camping stove with fuel. Now, the camping stoves are cheap. Everything I'm talking about here is relatively, there's nothing mad expensive. Everything is within reason. Yeah. It's like if we had a big snow out, like tomorrow morning, 10 feet of snow, would you be able to get to the shop, you know? So the snow will take a few days to clear, all that kind of stuff. Can you survive at home for that 10 days, basically? So with a camping stove, then you obviously, that generates a bit of heat as well. So you need warm clothes, blankets, sleeping bags in the house, which I'd say most people have them anyway. Matches, tea lights and candles would be another thing. That heats candles, actually. Tea lights are a great one when you close the door in a house. So a sitting or something, you light up a few tea candles. But if it really gets cold, what they do recommend is, if you have a tent in the attic, grab it, set the tent up in a room, close it down, go to sleep in that. It keeps the heat in that tent, so you're not going to be spreading your heat out. That's
a very good tip. I guess medicine as well. I mean, if you're on tablets and the like, you'd have to be careful.
Yeah, you see, that's a little that's one that it's a little hard one to do, because the pharmacist will only give you.
That's right.
They'll only give you a month's supply. So
what's on your prescription? Yeah.
Exactly. That's all they do for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's something that needs to be looked at? Do you think that an emergency supply should be available?
Well, I say if you had a chat with your pharmacist, they are flexible. Like, you know, if you said I'm going away for 6 months or 6 months, they will give you a certain amount. Pharmacist, medicine, hygiene items is another thing that you don't think about, and plus dog food and pet food, that kind of stuff as well. They have to eat also. Now, something I do recommend people have in the house is power banks, ways of charging batteries and extra batteries. I myself have a little solar-powered power bank with 650 watts, and it's enough to run my computers, my TV. I just plug it in, but I also have solar in the house, but that kind of let me down during the winter, because the panels are pointing in the wrong direction during the winter. Another thing to have in the house, and it's called cash is king. Have some form of cash in small denominations.
Yes.
5s, 10s, you know. Because you go up to a shop, they don't have a till, or the electric mightn't be working. Only cash might work. They might not. They might say, check off on, I don't want any cash. Yeah. Some of them are. They do that, you know. An alternative phone is also another thing. People should maybe have. If you're along my lines, I'd have an alternative one. I do have one with SIM card in it, but I only discovered the SIM is only good for about 9 months until you activate it, and then it's gone. Okay.
But you're saying one of these cheap, over-the-counter phones, burner phones, as they call them,
€10, €20 job, something that you can call 999 on or something like that. Yeah. Now, if you want to go a bit more extreme to where I am onto ham radio as well. So I have what's called a mutual assistance group, which means I'm in touch with people around my community and we can talk via handheld radios or ham radio. I have a big antenna on my roof. We can talk away. We've been putting all these things to the test and trialing them out just in case something does happen one day. We know how to contact each other. I was speaking to a guy in Italy on one of the groups, and he was as if he was in the same room with me, and I was using a ham radio on FM, like the CB radio. For all the
Sure,
world.
yeah. I remember a friend of mine was big into that years ago, but you have to power that up. So
yeah, you can power that up with a 12-volt battery or the battery.
Oh,
in your
right,
car,
okay. Yeah.
Right later. They all work that way, and plus if you have the power supplies that I have, we should be no issue that way.
Do you take it so far that you have a place you could go? I mean, do you have a bunker, or do you have a safe spot?
This is a topic that people are always trying to get out of me. We have a safe spot that will hold about 150 people, and I can't tell you exactly where it is, but it is in County Tipperary.
Wow.
That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
There you go. We have actually two, but the second one is in County Kilkenny. That's a smaller one, but the main one is in County Tip, and that's where we kind of we're more or less, we meet up if there's a huge emergency. That's understood within the group.
And what would you constitute being a huge emergency? What?
Oh, if we'll just say Russia dropped a nuclear bomb on France or England, we're in trouble then. They're not going to nuke us. But the fallout, of course, and the radiation and fallout, we don't want any of that. And once that fallout comes in, you won't be able to step your foot outside of the door for about a week. Yeah, they say a few days, but a week is enough.
And who were these 150 people, Frank, who'd make their way to that bunker then? I mean, how do you...
Well, you see, this is also another one, because I vet everybody. So we do have a vet. And
you have a kind of a club or something, do you? Do you have a...
we're in a group, yeah. We're actually meeting up at the end of the month in County Tipperary as well. So there's in excess of about 40 people. We don't want any more than 40. That's actually too many even. But we're going to be doing a weekend. We do this regularly. We just meet up and chat and we talk to each other and we discuss various topics and whatever, and have a few beers over a campfire as well. It's great fun, and it's a great way of meeting people as well.
And is that big? Do you feel that there's a threat, a serious threat at this point? Are you concerned about this?
No, I'm not. I started this back in the 2009-10, and I did, I think, for mental health as well, because at that time there was we were in a bit of a depression here. You know, people were losing their jobs left, right, centre, and I was putting up videos on YouTube of me going out camping and doing various survival things. You know, because I'm ex-Navy, so I brought it up and increase my skills, as you say. So a lot of people saw it and they say, "Oh, that looks great. Can we come out and spend the weekend?" The next thing, 80, 90, 100 people, 200 people even. We've had 200 people at these gatherings. It got to the stage where health and safety was a big issue, because we're talking toilets and we're talking running water and all the things that need for 200 people. You know, it doesn't exactly it doesn't blend in seamlessly. So we knocked it on the head and we brought it down to about 20 to 40. 20 is more or less enough for me. I'm right about a handle of 20. So we've been doing it since 2009. I set up the group 2012, and we're still active. As I said, we're out next week, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the weather plays ball.
Yeah, it's incredible, and you'd have to be careful of that, because all the personalities would want to blend pretty well together.
Yeah, we got initially a lot of alpha males, if you understand what that means.
Sure, yeah.
And that was an issue. We had to figure that one out. How do we get around that? So, as I said, we kind of screen people, and if we don't like it, you're out. So, you know, if you run into a bunker with people, you got to be able to get on with them.
And as a former Navy person, can I just ask you about how you feel about the war that's going on in Iran at the moment and the fallout from there?
I hate seeing the price of petrol and diesel going up. I just see it this morning. I listened to it again this morning. It's gone over €2.
Yeah.
And I said that happened when Ukraine started, and I'm wondering, I mean, we're still suffering with Ukraine.
Yeah.
The prices came back down again. But, I mean, our government should jump in and say, look, you just can't gazump the price.
And do you think that's what's going on out there, this price gouging?
100%. They're making as much money as they can, then they calm down. Because we get our oil and stuff from the North Sea, so this shouldn't really affect us.
Yeah, well, it looks, as you say yourself, I've seen it go over €2 in certain places as well last night. So, yeah, we can look forward to that.
Cool, yeah.
Frank, it's a real pleasure to talk to you, and big interest in what you're doing as well from our listeners this morning. Thanks for coming on, Frank. Thank you.
Sure. If anybody wants to see us online, we're on Facebook there on the Irish Survivalist and Prepper Group, or the Irish Survivalist Group ISG. You'll find us there.
Very good. Look after yourself, Frank. Thank you, and bye-bye to you now. It's Frank Deegan speaking to us there from the Irish Survivalist Group. It's interesting, isn't it? News and information's coming up.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the final hour of Tip FM, or Tip Today even. Liam was on to us and he said, so if anybody sees 40 plus people heading in any one direction other than the Tipperary hurling game, follow them. So that's making reference to my conversation with Frank there about the bunker that's in Tipperary somewhere. Delighted to be joined by our relationship expert, Susan O'Donoghue. There'd be great work for you in a bunker, I'd say, with...
Would there?
With 40 people trying to relate to each other.
Yeah, to be a test and a half, I'd say.
Wouldn't it just? Interesting. You're going to talk to us about exploring self-esteem, and with the conversation we had off air, I'll be listening very attentively to this. What is it about self-esteem? Why do we scupper our own self-esteem?
I know, and I suppose if we look at what self-esteem is, right, and self-esteem is subjective, right? So it's the overall evaluation of your own worth or value. That's kind of what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
We look at ourselves and think, oh God, I'm useless, or God, I'm not worth it, or oh, they'll never like me, or why would they like someone like that? So I suppose there's different levels of self-esteem, and there's a healthy self-esteem which involves appreciating your own worth, accepting yourself despite, when we get it wrong. And I think failure is huge in this, because it's how you're brought up to look at failure, whether it's a stepping stone to success or whether it's an awful thing altogether and you got condemned for it, right? So we know it's about maintaining confidence and handling setbacks without blame. So it's without blaming yourself. So the lovely thing I started talking about in the beginning of the year, which was reflection, this is huge. It's all about reflection. In my own experience, and in any college course I've ever done, or whatever, anything I've ever explored or research I've ever read, it always comes back to the relationship with yourself, right? It always comes back to that reflection part about, what's unconscious and what do I need to bring to consciousness to move on, right? Because if I do the same thing over and over again and just stay in the conscious level I'm at, I'm never going to move on or never going to grow, because it's going to be too fearful for me. So I'm going to stay hidden, because if I come out into the open, for want of a better word, and I look at things and I consider things, I would have been probably killed, lambasted, put down, told I was wrong. So all that has a huge impact. So we need to reflect on how it is for us. And I suppose low self-esteem, what that looks like is like self-doubt, constant self-criticism, focusing on weaknesses, and feeling not good enough. And the fear of failure again comes into that. It's huge. And a lot of times I'll say to people, is your cup half full or is your cup half empty?
Yeah.
Because you'll see people and you go, oh my God, they're so optimistic. They're always looking on the good side. But it helps, doesn't it? It helps to see the good in stuff rather than the terrible things all the time.
Yeah, I love people like that, because it's an antidote to the way I'd be feeling most of the time.
Yeah, it does help. It lifts your spirits. It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. So how is it that I see things as my cup is half empty the whole time? How is it that everything's doom and gloom? How is it that, what's the fear behind it? What would happen if I saw things as, there's other things now and that, and there is, I suppose, options. There is ways out of this situation. It's not all doom and gloom. I have choice here.
Yes.
So when we start bringing that into it, see, there's the reflection part. If I don't do that, I'll never see that. So it's about, do I have a safe space to look at my own life, because the issue was I probably, more than likely, in my experience, 100%, didn't have that safety to look at what was happening around me and not take on others' stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
So every parent in the world, right, I don't care who they are, comes in with baggage. This is just part of living, right? It's part of our experience in life. So there is no blame, there is no shame, there is no right or wrong. We are exactly where we need to be. And I suppose we know that our self-esteem and our self-worth and our self-conscious, not our self-worth because we're born worthy, but our sense of self-worth is hugely impacted by our childhood experiences. There's no doubt in my head. It's researched till we're blue, right? And the relationship with parents, teachers and peers, as well as personal achievements or failures, they impact how it is for us, right? And we know that this impacts our mental health, motivation and the ability to create boundaries for ourselves and feel that safety, right? Because we don't feel like maybe we're worthy or we're valuable enough for that. And to me, that's really sad. Right? And there's also another self-esteem, I suppose, part of it, and that's the excessive one. And this is quite interesting, right? Because I don't think a lot of us have this, but sometimes you might meet someone who has, and that's where they're...
Well, there's an overrated sense of your own importance, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's a reason for it, Fran, because it's the same. It's a different side of the same coin. Rather, it's not any better or any worse than having low self-esteem. In fact, it's nearly equal to it, because now I'm going to take on tasks and I don't have the competence or the confidence maybe to complete it. I might have a pseudo confidence where I think I can rule the world, but that's different than real confidence. Because real confidence, it's that I know I've put in the work, I know I've done what it is, and I know I'm capable of giving this a try. And if I do fail, that's okay, I can try again.
Yes.
How many people can say that?
Very few.
Yeah, it's not an easy one. You know, it's a very difficult thing to get to, a place to get to. And remember, this is key for me in all of this, right? There's a reason why our self-esteem is the way it is, right? We didn't just randomly say, well, do you know what, I'm going to have low self-esteem. And like, when we look at it, it's huge for me, and it makes such an impact in my life to know that all these things that were defensive behaviours, because that's what lowers our self-esteem, because it's kind of like we go hidden, right? So to go hidden, there was a reason, number one, right? It was unsafe in some place, there was a threat. And the wisdom and the genius that's in each of us, right? As a small child, right? Probably started in the womb. We started to, I suppose, feel out what's safe and what's dangerous here. What do we need to create? What behaviours do we need to
protect ourselves?
To protect, like the wisdom. I'm like, you know that I get blown away by this stuff because I'm just so into it. But I see that in myself. And now if I can see that in myself, it takes a whole lot of the shame and the blame of low self-esteem or an oversense of rated high esteem. It's not even high esteem, but it's an exaggerated self-esteem. Like, it takes away, I suppose, the blame in that, because I see the genius that it took to create these behaviours.
But it's a light bulb moment for me to realise, and it's quite clear to me now that you've said it, that people with an overrated sense of their own importance or their own esteem would be coming from the same place as somebody who was struggling with esteem.
100%.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because they just chose a different option, because we're never going to be the same. We all want to be seen, unique, and we want to have that lovely sense of belonging, and we want to stand out, but we also want to blend in. And you see this a lot in teenagers, don't you?
Yeah.
Where they're all dressed the same, they
a
all
uniform
look the same.
almost.
Yeah. But they still want to be seen, right? Behind all that. But there's too much of a fear there. Maybe for a lot of them. Now, some of them there's not, but for a lot of them, maybe there's too much of a fear to go, here I am, see me. This is my unique sense of style. It's my because it's too threatening.
Yes, of course. And where does the narcissist come into this then, as that overrated sort of sense of your own importance?
Yeah, there's a difference in that, isn't it?
Is that different?
Yeah,
yes.
Because overly high esteem is often misplaced as narcissism, right? However, there are some distinct traits that differentiate these terms. Individual with narcissistic traits may appear to have high self-esteem, but their self-esteem may be high or low, as is unstable, constantly shifting depending on their given situation. So it wouldn't be the same as that. It's not A narcissist is totally different. It may be preoccupied with being perfect, maybe focused on always being right, maybe they can't fail. That's more of, you know, that overrated sense of self-esteem. May believe they are more skilled or better than others, may express grandiosity, whereas self-esteem is too high. It can result in relationship problems, difficulties with social situations, and the inability to accept criticism. So criticism for somebody with that sense of overrated self-esteem is just, they're not able. Yeah, it's too much to be told, to be criticised. So can you see where that may have come from in their childhood?
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? What is the ideal? What should you strive for?
Right. So how would you improve it, right? I'm telling you, reflection is finding a safe place where you can look at how your behaviours are, what behaviours, because remember, we're so amazing and so fabulous that when we do feel a bit of safety, right, our innate sense is that, God, there's a bit of safety here now, so it's safe enough to explore what's going on for me. And when that happens, what you'll notice sometimes, you know, something will happen in your life as regards some behaviour that you're after doing, and it won't sit right for you. You'll feel, oh God, that's not... Do you ever, like, I often think, you know, when the kids are small, this is only a very small example now, right? But when the kids were small and if they did something and you kind of go, you lose the plot with them, right? And you're going to yourself, the shame, the guilt, the terribleness of it afterwards. You feel horrendous. That's your good self letting you know this isn't where you want to be. This isn't okay for you. Yeah? So there's a bit of safety there now to look at that and think, what's coming up here for me now? How is it that horrible sense of, oh my God, I did something really wrong here? And that's just a broad one, like, but it gives that sense of, it gives a way in to look at it. So remember, our feelings never lie. Our feelings are created by us and for us, yeah? And they let us know what's happening inside for us. So when you get feelings of, say, I call them, like, you know, the emergency feelings, the ones that don't feel great, the ones that are upsetting, the ones that shake you up a bit, that's your way in, right? But for a lot of us, we run from them.
But even if you find the way in, and even if you can identify the source of your low self-esteem, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can address it, though.
Well, if you find the safety, it does, right? Because if you've grown up in a household where you're told, cop on now, pull your socks up and get on with it, right? That's my recollection of a lot of it, right? If you're told that, your automatic response is going to be, pull your socks up and get on with it. Don't be whinging. What are you crying about? You're always, you know what I mean? Just move on with it. So if I'm brought up like that, if that's what's passed on to me, that's how dangerous the world is to look at it. So it's going to take a bit of safety and a bit of time and a bit of courage to build up that space where I can say, do you know what? It's okay. It's okay not to have to, you know, to be criticised. It's okay to, you know, be blamed for stuff. Because that's not my stuff. That's the person who's blaming me.
And again, to ask you about the ideal here, that you don't verge over into being overconfident or obnoxious or something. That ideal position to be in.
Yeah, just remember now what we said, right? That sense of, you know, being, I suppose, defensively using self-esteem with that, you know, that sense of being a bit, oh, well, see me, and right, that's a defence. Okay. So is the low self-esteem, right? So the two of them are the same thing, really.
So you'd have to be careful not to replace one.
No, I don't see that happening. If you find the safety and you find the space to reflect on it, you're not going to go there because you'll be looking at it. And you'll be thinking, how is it that, like, say I've really high self-esteem, right, but it's a defensive behaviour. It's not coming from, you know, whatever. It's not coming from reflection and practice on myself about taking care of myself. I'm going to trot in there and I'll still have the same, not the same feelings, but I'll still have feelings coming up there letting me know it's not sitting right for me. Because when someone criticises me, I'll go into defence.
Yeah, of course.
I'll have a meltdown. Yeah. So how now is it that somebody else's I suppose reflection or somebody else's the way they look at me matters so much to me? How is it I'm taking on their stuff? That's the key, because if it's true relationship that we'd put up our defences, right, and put everything in place to mind ourselves, it's going to be true relationship with another, firstly, that we'll get, I suppose, the ways in, that it'll open up paths for us to have a look at, how is it that I'm so defensive?
But again, and sorry, I keep harping on this, but the ideal surely is that, you know, I'm worthy. I'm doing this to the best of my ability, and that's it, and that's me. Is that where we should be, where being healthy in our minds are concerned?
Should be. Got that one. And I say it as well the whole time.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, I suppose, for me is, when you look at it, right, we're born worthy. We don't need to earn that. Every single individual here is born worthy, right? It's what we had to put in place to protect ourselves along the way. And that will veer us into low self-esteem. It'll veer us into, I suppose, that sense of elevated self-esteem. That's the opposite side. That's what that will push us into.
Yes.
Right? So if we don't have the space to look at that, because it won't sit right for us all the time, because people will touch into it, right? People will touch into my sense. If I have low self-esteem and someone comes over and they say, oh, sure, why wouldn't you give it a try? Oh my God, no, I'd never get. Oh God, no. Why? How is it that I can't give it a try? Do you know what's happening for me? It's about that looking at yourself with compassion and with kindness, like you would if your child came home to you and said, oh ma'am, I was in school today and they asked me to come up to the board and I nearly died.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, I suppose that kind of thing being put in front of other people. And one of the hardest things, I think, in the world for people is public speaking. And even if you start there and ask yourself, could I stand in a room full of people and talk?
Yeah.
It's
an interesting one, yeah. In fact, you know what's very interesting? The amount of radio colleagues that I know of that do what I do every day to whatever, 30,000 people or something, would find it difficult to stand in a room of 100 people and talk to them.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because you're hiding here, I suppose, behind a microphone.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Like, it doesn't feel like there's other people in the room with us, because there's not.
Yeah.
I know there's people listening, but it doesn't feel like that sense of, oh, all the people are listening to me. And like, there's more people listening here than most rooms would ever hold.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that. So it's that sense of safety, and I feel safe when I come in here because of who I meet.
Yes.
And that's that's the truth. I also have a sense of safety about myself now, because I'm after working really hard on it. Yeah, because I was born worthy, you were born worthy, but the things along the way knock the chips off you, don't they?
Well, that's for certain.
Yeah.
What is it about public speaking, by the way? What do you think
it's
it is?
judgment,
is
isn't
it? Judgment?
Yeah.
They're,
it's that
they're judging me now.
Yeah.
And what is that? Everything? Voice, appearance, content of what you say, all of these things.
Did I look right? Do I have the right colour clothes on? Did I put on the right makeup for women? Did I have my hair all right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did I sneeze and there's something somewhere? Do you know what I mean? It's just the whole combination of it. It's really frightening.
Is the guess that what you listed out there came before what I'm actually going to say?
Really?
It was all the cosmetic stuff.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's the mask we hide behind.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's the mask we put on when we meet people. Every single day we do it.
Yeah.
We put on a mask. Depending on who the person is, the mask could be very defensive, or it could be slightly defensive if there's some sense of safety.
Yeah. And have you seen people change? Have you seen people with very
I've seen
low?
myself.
Okay. Yeah.
110%.
But you wouldn't have had very low self-esteem, would you?
I wouldn't have been great, Fran, in the beginning.
Wow.
I'd say I would have been very nervous about not being liked, very nervous about judgment, and that's the whole lovely separation thing again from what others see, what other people think, feel and say about you. Because what they think, feel and say is created by them and for them. It's nothing to do with me. Right? So if their perception of me is whatever, oh, she's up, whatever, right? She's full of herself, or whatever their perception is. If I now take that on board, right?
Yeah.
How is that for me? And it's the same as if someone comes to me and say, oh my God, you're so fabulous, you're wonderful, you're whatever. Lovely to hear, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if I feed off that, and if that's my lifeline to how I feel about myself,
and if you need that,
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Aren't I?
Yeah,
Like that's
you are, yeah.
And that's where it comes from, is our say our childhoods, when we needed somebody to have our back and have our space. How our parents were with us, and how our carers were with us, or how our teachers were with us, or how anybody was with us that we needed to care for us, impacts us going forward.
Aren't we absolutely fascinating, for sure? If people want to talk to you, how can they do that, Susan?
Sure, it's 086 3676 256 or info@emotionalwellbeing.ie. Thanks very much, Fran.
Very good. This isn't referring to you, it's referring to my last guest, but it says, why are you entertaining lunatics on the radio? My wife is running around looking for tins of beans to put in the tent in the bedroom at the moment.
Oh, it's brilliant. Brilliant.
Oh, I love that. All right, Susan, great to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
indeed.
Fran.
We'll take a break. Back with more in just a moment.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck On. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Tipp Today. Now, Eddie O'Brien from the Thinking Centre in Clonmel recently penned a very interesting letter to the TDs in South Tipperary after he was left rather shocked indeed by the Taoiseach's comments around Donald Trump's Board of Peace invite. And Eddie joins me now. Good morning to you, Eddie.
Good morning, Fran.
Good to talk. Would you just give me the background to this, first of all, Eddie, if you would?
Yeah, well, look, the Board of Peace people were invited, certain countries were invited. And when Ireland got their invitation, Micheál Martin said they were examining it. Now, I know that it was very hurtful to Palestinians that he said that, because I wrote then to the 3 local TDs because I felt it would be helpful for them to bring it to Micheál Martin's attention or bring it to the attention of the Dáil. What I was suggesting was it would have been much more helpful if he had said that he couldn't consider the invitation if there was nobody from Palestine invited on that board. So I had contacted the Palestinian embassy because I know Dr. Jalan very well, the ambassador, and they confirmed no, they hadn't got any invitation. So it struck me as if he had been a bit more thoughtful, he might have said, well, we'll wait until the invitation or that some Palestinian leaders are going to get invited onto this board. But as far as I know, that hasn't happened since either.
Right. Could we put this down to just typical diplomacy at this time of year? See, the President speaking out this morning as well. This is a kind of a delicate time of the year when he's heading to Washington with his bowl of shamrock. Is it realpolitik in some sort of a way, Eddie?
You see, it is, Fran, and I can well understand that politicians, especially our leaders, are under pressure from obviously the Trump administration in a big way, and also much more so, which worries me even more, under pressure from some of these leaders in the European Union. So I can understand, but at the same time, our integrity is also a very important thing. And Ireland has spoken out about genocide. It's acknowledged it is genocide. It's not a country that's trying to deny the fact that there's genocide in Gaza. So coming from an Irish leader to make a response, because he made a response in public, and I was concerned, and then I spoke to Palestinians and they were very concerned. They felt hurt that it was being considered when there was nobody from Palestine invited on the board, which is an incredible situation if you think about it. It's like if they were talking about rearranging Ireland here, but none of our politicians were invited to have their voice heard.
Yeah, it's also interesting, I suppose, in light of what happened subsequently. I mean, here he formed a board of peace, and then, of course, along with the Israelis, there was an attack on Iran. Now, however people might think about that, but still, just in light of the Board of Peace aspect of this.
Yeah, you see, Fran, obviously, this Board of Peace, like just to mention, Jeffrey Sachs was in Ireland last year. Now, I know you're aware of Jeffrey Sachs, sure. And he was interviewed on RTE. But the thing is this, that he's pointing out that the Board of Peace that Trump is trying to form is endangering the United Nations and its structure. Yeah. So that's one probably important aspect. Now, Jeffrey Sachs would be much more informed about that than somebody like me would be. But nonetheless, an important thing I came across last week, and this is an example of what is going on within the American administration and why people have that we have to be very careful trusting the whole orientation. Here's the thing. In last week's Financial Times, there was a big article about Pete Hegseth, who's the Minister of Defence in America. And At the Pentagon, Hexet has put his faith front and centre, starting a monthly prayer service that has featured a Christian nationalist pastor who thinks women should not have the vote. Now that's an extraordinary... That was, of course, published in this major article that the Financial Times did on him. But that gives you a reflection of, I mean, the level of vulgarity in the language coming out of the White House, and his language is phenomenal. He's the Minister of Defence. He now has changed the name to the Minister of War. So there's a tremendous underlying influences here coming from the whole biblical Christian evangelical side of things,
which is so much part of Trump's backing, I suppose. And
absolutely.
With the whole MAGA. It's interesting you talk about the language coming out of the White House. Some of it is very unfortunate, you know, like bringing people to toast, making toast of them, you know, these kind of, you know, blowing the crap out of them. It's all very...
Well, if...
As you say, vulgar.
It's mafia language, actually. But I think one of the other problems is that there is a mindlessness completely about it as well. Because these people are not... They seem to be not aware of the damage they're doing to their own country that they are elected to represent. American people in general are not like that at all. And they're not aware, and this is, I think, one of the huge problems with people who become mindless in certain situations. They're not aware of what the implications of their own actions. So that sort of language has already been confronted by many other countries, even the European Union, for those who are brave enough to do it, including the Spanish.
No doubt, though, that, you know, the Ayatollah headed an evil regime, a regime, you know, whose actions and who they supported around the world caused chaos and awful stuff going on. So in light of that, how do you feel about the attack on Iran?
I think it's... obviously coming from an administration that people like Hexet and others are speaking like mafia members, first thing I would be suspicious about what's motivated it. So yes, would I want to live in Iran? Absolutely not. But the fact of the matter is, it nonetheless is a sovereign country. So the question is, in attacking Iran then, is that helping the world or harming the world? Because if it's harming the world, then you are the enemy of the world.
And how do you view it? Do you view it as harming the world?
Oh yeah, I think it is incredibly dangerous. And also we're in a world with nuclear weapons, and I think it's really awfully one-sided as well. So people talk about the damage Iran have done. The question is, when I wrote to Ursula von der Leyen, which I never got replied to, pointing out when she was saying Iran is the main source of terror in the Middle East. And I said, but what about Israel, who currently are committing genocide and have done so many other things through its Zionist thing? So it is really, and also it's this aspect of, you know, Fran, America and American media and also the Western mainstream media focus completely on Iran and the problems they're creating. What about Vietnam? What about Iraq? What about Afghanistan?
That the Americans, when they left, of course, they left chaos behind them.
Millions of people have died. So it's like, I'm not saying that what's going on in Iran, I would be horrified at some of the things that are going on. But I'm also horrified at what is going on in the United States that I lived in for 3 years and had the privilege of going to university there and know very many intelligent Americans. They are horrified.
Can I go back to the Board of Peace? And I'd love your view on Tony Blair and some of what Tony Blair has been saying as a member of that board. Some of it is rather unfortunate when you consider his background and his involvement in 2003 in the war on Iraq, for example.
Frank, it's phenomenal. When I was listening to Thomas Conway and his interview with you this morning as I was driving up, and he shared many things, but one thing that I was really struck by, that Tony Blair was encouraging that Iran be bombed. And I asked myself, you know, people say people learn from experience, but they don't necessarily. Some people do and some people don't. That seems to be a classical example.
What is he trying to do? Is he trying to, I don't know, repair his legacy or what, you know?
Well, Fran, look, he's human like the rest of us. He has an unconscious like the rest of us, right? If you had done something in 2003 that participated in an invasion of Iraq and which turned out to be a complete catastrophe, and still the effects of that continue. There's people as we speak probably being tortured as an outcome of all of that. Well, then you would have at the very least a lot of unconscious guilt. So you would have the need to try and persuade yourself that what you did was right. So I think that's where these things come from. Listening to Donald Trump's the speech he gave the morning of the attack on Iran. What struck me was I got the impression, because he sounded completely unhinged, that he was more trying to persuade himself than the American people. And I think with probably Tony Blair, there's a certain amount of that as well. He has an enormous need to, I suppose, defend himself.
Our neutrality is very important to you, and of course where the triple lock now is concerned. Are you very concerned at the moment?
Yeah, I would be very concerned, Fran, because, you know, on a previous interview we talked about the letter I sent the minister that time about my concerns about her remarks on the drive time programme.
Yes.
And we talked about that. And what when I wrote to her...
Was that Jennifer Carroll McNeil?
Jennifer Carroll McNeil,
yes.
Exactly. Now, I've written the same letter 3 times because I first wrote that letter 2 years ago. I've also shared it with all the politicians. I've never had a reply, but my concern was, I'm not trying to attack her in any way, but my concern was that she was speaking about a situation concerning Russia, who have more nuclear weaponry than any other country in the world. And almost I felt coming at it like some of these very neocon people come at the question as if Putin is another Hitler. But you see, what she was saying on that radio programme was illogical, and this is the proof. If somebody is another Hitler and is in possession of the biggest store of nuclear weapons in the world, is it intelligent to provoke that person?
And you think we've done that?
Well, what she was encouraging, seemed to be encouraging, was providing Ukraine with the arms to be able to send missiles into Russia. Now, that's an incredible... And when the interviewer said to her, but Russia are saying this could lead to nuclear war, she sort of brushed away the comment. So I respect her. I wished her well, but I sent that very comprehensive letter. And it's also gone to the government members, because I send all my correspondence there. But nobody has ever even answered my question centrally to her was, because I was so shocked at her tone, I said, is the government agreeing with what you're saying here? But I was never answered.
And what do you make? You know, I often say that I come at this from being an old hippie. I cannot believe that any war is justified, to be honest with you, at this point in my life. But there's warmongering going out there. And you're right on mainstream media. It's being portrayed as being the right thing to do, you know. And
yeah, it's Fran, you see, the mainstream media and the way they've reported on the Ukraine-Russian war, it's so one-sided.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody says to me when I say that, I'm pro-Russian.
Yeah, I know.
I say I don't care what you think, because that's a very stupid statement, and I'm not going to waste my time even responding to it.
Yeah.
I'm not pro-Russian. I say that to you.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's so dangerous. And next Thursday, the Thinking Centre are interviewing 2 experts on the issue of the dangers of nuclear war and what nuclear war means. And those experts, there's in 2 American professors, they're world experts on what it means if there is a nuclear outbreak. It's much, much more serious. Fran, during the time of the Soviet Union and the Cold War, maybe you're too young to remember, I'm not sure, but the point is, at that stage, everybody was terrified of the nuclear threat.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
For some reason, that's after blanking out, and people are not so... If anybody is interested in attending this interview I'm doing on Zoom with these 2 American professors, it's really, really going to be important to hear what nuclear war means and why I was so concerned about the tone of Jennifer McNeil.
It's interesting, and you mentioned the Cold War, and I mean, was it 1962 with the Bay of Pigs in Cuba and all of that with the Americans, and how close we were to nuclear? How does that compare to where we are now, do you think?
You see, I suppose there's 2 things, Fran, in that if a country is threatened existentially, their survival. Now, Thomas was speaking very interestingly in his interview this morning. One thing I'm not yet agreeing, which is the Western view that America are winning this war. I'm not at all convinced they are. But say, for example, they're not winning this war, and say, for example, these experts that are claiming the amount of missiles that Iran have in storage and may plan to use against Israel. If Israel is faced with an existential threat, which they would be if they're losing this, if they were losing the war. I mean, a previous Israeli president, Golda Meir, said when she was asked a question, would you use the nuclear option? She said she wouldn't hesitate.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So this is...
And that's a long time ago.
And that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now, Netanyahu and all these crackpots within the Zionist movement, because it's... I mean, they're claiming that they're following...
Right.
The Old Testament.
And to get to finish, can I ask you just again, in terms of danger, and will you compare it to when we got so close to the doomsday clock being at 12 o'clock? How does it compare? Are we really in danger now, do you think?
Well, there's very strong comparisons. At the time, Russia put missiles in Cuba.
Cuba, yes.
A very similar thing has been occurring with preceding this Ukraine war, and even since. America were wanting Ukraine to be in NATO, and there's missiles in Romania, and there's also the danger that Ukraine would be given much more powerful missiles. Ukraine is on Russia's border. So the very thing that mostly Biden was talking about and complaining about. I mean, if America or if Russia put now weaponry in Mexico, would the Americans ignore it? Of course they wouldn't. But the problem we have in Ireland, Fran, I'm all for Europe, except the integrity of Europe and its underlying Enlightenment intelligence is being attacked by destroyed actually by these certain neocon leaders in Europe who, unfortunately, because we're part of the European Union, will put our leaders under pressure to go along with what they're saying.
It's a fascinating conversation, but a very, very worrying one, if you don't mind my saying so, Eddie. So just to remind people again then, From the Thinking Centre, is that like a podcast? Is it?
No, it's a live interview. And if people can join, I can send them the link.
Yeah.
And it's if they email w.eddieobrien@gmail.com, or my phone number is 08638069999. I can send them the link. It's Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
All right.
And I can send them the details.
All right, I'm looking forward to that. Eddie, pleasure as always. Thank you so much for coming into us today. That's Eddie O'Brien from the Thinking Centre in Clonmel. Let's take a break. We're back in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1-800-938-007.
This week, the founder of the HSRI, that's the Hair and Safety Regulation Ireland, James Fletcher, was in touch with the show to share some staggering information, indeed, that he recently discovered about barbering services in Ireland. He joins me now. Good morning to you, James.
Good morning, friend. How are you?
You're welcome to the show, and thanks for coming on with us today. Will you just remind us about your organisation, first of all, James, if you would?
Yeah, so basically we set this up during COVID, really. So basically it was since England left the EU, and basically City and Guilds, which is a widely used course, they're covering all the UK safety standards, but it doesn't actually cover all the Irish standards.
Tell us about what you've discovered, though. You're describing this as a public safety issue, James.
Yes, it is, yeah. So basically, often you've probably seen courses advertised as well around the place in Barbara. They might run for maybe 4 to 6 months, 1 day a week, and they're only like 2 hours, one night a week, you'd say. So you're doing about 40 hours altogether. Now, you're not covered to be a qualified barber at that stage, but that's actually a thing with Ireland that I'm saying. In Ireland, you're actually not required to have any course done at all to open up a barber shop. So basically, you could open up a barber shop right now if you wanted.
So I don't need any qualification, any training?
No, nothing at all. All you have to follow is like the basic health and safety laws in Ireland, which there's a big gap in the market for covering the hairdressing and barber in Ireland.
So what's the fallout of this then, James? What's going wrong out there?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of it going on. You've probably seen a documentary done in England last year where there was a big outbreak of in the head there. There was a disease going around, ringworm.
Yes.
So basically, there was a big documentary on that over in England, and they couldn't sort it out. They're having the same problem over in England at the moment, whereas in America, you actually have to have a license done to be a barber.
And you're saying the likes of ringworm, you can contract that by being in a barber shop that does not have proper hygiene regulation. Is that what you're saying to me?
Basically, yes, yeah. Like, there was actually a survey done. I actually have some of it here. Basically, there was a study done confirming that there was contamination on barber hair clippers, and they had a blood-borne virus of hepatitis B in it.
Good God.
And see, I'm saying with all the new hairstyles out there, when you're using file shavers, if someone has a spot on their head, you're cutting them.
Yeah.
And basically, they can get an infection that way as well.
So, but I mean, this sounds like basic hygiene that should be the norm anyway.
Yes, there should be more enforcement on it. Whereas I have a staggering thing there now. I was onto the Health and Safety Authority, and they are the ones that are meant to enforce it like the HSA. But I contacted them, and they told me that they are not responsible for doing spot checks around Ireland. They told me it's the local city council. So just out of interest, I emailed the local city council, and they emailed me back and they said they are not responsible. So I emailed them, then they hold all the data. So I asked them to get back to me and show me what spot checks have been done between January 25 and January 26. They then told me I couldn't get that information because of
GDPR or something like that.
GDPR, basically, yeah.
Yeah,
so
but from that, do you suspect?
Information Act, and then they sent back the information without the names on it, and not one spot check has been done in Dublin since 25 and 26.
But I mean, that's absolutely incredible.
So basically, no one is stepping up and taking control of this situation. I've emailed the government, I've emailed the Minister of Enterprise, the whole lot. They don't even want to know about it. Now, the only one I got onto that had any interest in it was Matty McGrath. Now, he took the information, he said he was going to raise some issues in the Dáil, and he never done it, so I suppose I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'm sure he has a list of stuff to get through, and it's probably on a list that he will eventually get to. But this is all very serious, because when we knew you were coming on, we had a conversation with a few different people, and seemingly it's very prevalent at the moment to get various infections from barbershops.
It is, yes. Like, it's very easy to pick up infections in a barbershop. When you think of it this way, you're working with tools and chemicals that can burn your skin. The floor is nearly always wet, from people washing their hair. Everything you pick up has a cable attached to it. So it's very easy for you to have an accident inside in a hair salon. It's one of the
And can I take you back to what you said to me at the start, just for clarity? Someone like me, I have no experience, obviously, of cutting anybody's hair, but I can go and set up a barber shop without any experience or without any qualification tomorrow, if I wanted to.
Yeah, nothing at all. You don't need anything at all. All you have to have done is your manual handling, your health and safety, your courses done, just relevant stuff. Just it'd be the same if you're going working in a spare shop that you need standard health and safety done, but most people don't even have that done.
But the amount of barber shops that have sprouted up in the last 5 years, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's in the last 10 years, you'd say, Joe, they're immigrating from other countries, coming here working.
But
and they're following different health and safety laws, if you get me, Joe. The health and safety in their country is different than Ireland, and it's not up to scratch, you'd say.
I'm also hearing, by the way, that some hairdressers going to work in Britain, their qualifications aren't always recognised over there at the moment. Are you across that, James?
No, I wouldn't be covering across Ireland or.
No. But I mean, are you aware of that? Because I certainly wasn't aware of that.
I only actually came across it the other day. A fella that was going to Australia working, and he's an electrician, and he was saying something that he has to pay an extra $6,000 just to basically change over the cert.
Right.
That's all I ever heard of.
Is there an appetite out there to do something about this in barber shops? Because, this is serious stuff.
Well, basically, I have been pushing with the last 5 years. When we got let go, say, during COVID, that's when I seen the issue, Joe. They were leaving the EU at the same time, and I then seen that the city in Gills will no longer cover the Irish safety laws, and that's when I took interest in it, and I had time off then, so I was reading a lot up about it, and I came across all of the information, and I just couldn't believe it, that there's such a gap in the market.
Yeah, I wonder how all these barber shops are even surviving, though, because so many of them on the high streets now. You'd wonder,
That's the thing, yeah. There's too many now.
Yeah, it's interesting. What is your advice to people out there? Do you want them to complain to their TDs about this, or to their local reps about this, James?
Well, I have actually advertised this course and things, but barber shops and hair salons are slow to take it on because they're looking at it as another cost and things like that. But the thing is that your employer is actually meant to put you through these courses. If he doesn't put you through these courses and an accident happens, the insurance mightn't pay out. More than likely they won't, because when you're getting insurance to ask you, have you got such training done?
Yeah.
And most people are just going to say, yeah. But it's when an accident happens and they start looking for the certificates, you've nothing done.
And have you concerns that there mightn't be sufficient insurance in some of these places as well?
I would say probably 70 to 80% of places have insufficient insurance.
Wow.
Yeah.
And again,
especially barbershops. I'd say the barbershops more than hair salons. But then there's more barbers than hair salons. So I'd say about 70, 80%.
If people want to find out more about what you have on offer by way of your courses, how can they get that information, James?
They can get it online. We have a website there, hsri.online. They can read up on it there. So basically, they can do the course there. But we're really trying to get in with the government, trying to get them to enforce this and actually bring more attention and light to it.
All right. Well, we were happy to do that this morning. Good to talk to you, James. Thanks for your time. Thank you. Good morning. That's James Fletcher there of the Hair and Safety Regulation Ireland. That's it for me. We didn't get through all of our items this morning because we had gremlins with our phones, so apologies to you about that. Leanne produced Stephen is on the way with the Time Tunnel on the Lunchtime Show. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves, won't you? Bye-bye.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.